Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto trains to become the best puppet user in the world, and got harem with older women, part 2. So before we start, please go check out the author of this fanfic, GodricGryff, link is in the description. Also subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's begin the video. Naruto woke to find that Gaara had slipped into bed with him, and Mikoto. He smiled at the content look on her face. Suddenly a silent alarm was triggered, and he got up to make his way to the security room. Looking at the cameras, he found that Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke were standing by his front door. Naruto spoke into the microphone. "What do you want?" Kakashi looked up at the camera and said, "We need to talk, it's important." Naruto opened the door and had a puppet escort them to the living room as he got dressed. Team 7 felt a little disturbed at having to sit in the middle of the room, with half of the root contingent present. When Naruto entered dressed in his bathrobe, he took a seat in his recliner. "Okay, you're all probably wondering why we are here," said Kakashi. After receiving nods of confirmation, he continued, "I have received special permission from the Hokage to tell you this. What I am about to reveal is an S-class secret. To reveal this information will have you killed on treason, understood?" Everyone nodded, but Naruto watched Kakashi warily. Konoha is going to be invaded during the Chunin final exams. According to our spies, Orochimaru, S-class missing nin, has founded the Hidden Sound Village, and together with an alliance with Tsunade, will invade our village during the final exams. Everyone looked surprised, though Naruto hid well. "What are you going to do?" asked Sakura. Kakashi looked at her and replied, "I will be training both you and Sasuke over the course of the next month. Currently, you Sakura are in the mid-Chunin range. My goal is to make you a low Jounin. Sasuke is currently in the low Jounin range in terms of speed. I intend to make him as fast as me, but with a far more deadly Taijutsu style. Naruto is already at Anbu level, so he won't need training. Even then he wouldn't accept it if I offered." Everyone looked at Kakashi. Naruto stood and said, "Is that all?" Sakura looked at Naruto's apparent lack of concern. "Aren't you concerned?" Naruto looked at her and bluntly said, "No, the people of this cesspool always seem to survive, even if they deserve to die." With that, he left to shower. Sakura looked at Kakashi, who simply responded with, "He's had a hard life." When the team left, Naruto returned to Gaara to find her awake. "I need to see the Hokage. Afterwards we will need to train harder than before." Hokage's office. When Naruto entered, Sarutobi looked up and asked, "What can I do for you, Naruto-kun?" Naruto pulled out a map of the village and said, "When the enemy invades, I think I can arrange to have a few nasty surprises awaiting them." Sarutobi smiled. He was looking forward to this. Konoha, midnight. Naruto had just returned from his examination of the walls when he heard a scream. Curious, he went to investigate. Upon arriving, he found sand crushing the body of a sound nin. He looked up to see a red-haired male with a gourd on his back. "Subaku no Gaara, Jinchuriki of the one-tailed Shikaku. I was wondering when we'd meet," said Naruto. Gaara looked at him and replied, "Uzumaki Naruto, holder of the nine-tailed no Kitsune, puppet master of Konoha. I have heard that you are the most powerful person in the village. I want to taste your blood." They continued to stare at one another until Naruto spoke. "After the invasion, meet me at Training Field 7, we will fight to the death." Gaara nodded and then asked, "What is the meaning of your existence?" Naruto replied back, "Mine is to become the most powerful puppet user in the world. What is yours?" Gaara replied, "Mine is to kill until I am killed." They nodded at one another before they went their separate ways. Naruto had research to do. 1 month later, Team 7 had taken their respective positions around the village. Kakashi was in the audience stands to protect the civilians there. Sakura was placed at the hospital area to protect it and to heal injured shinobi. Sasuke was stationed at the Hokage tower, while Naruto took his place by the Hokage's side in the cage booth. They had all grown rather well in the past month. Sasuke's speed and stamina had reached the level of Jounin. He was also quite skilled in his two chosen Taijutsu styles, the Uchiha style and the Jujutsu style. Sakura had developed her medical skills rather well under the watchful eye of the head doctor, and she had developed some rather freighting. Naruto had trained Gaara to handle several puppets at once. She was stationed by the academy and working with the Ruka. Yujito was by the front gate. She was responsible for making sure Naruto's traps went off without a hitch. Naruto stood to the side of the Hokage watching the matches, most of which proved to be uninteresting. "I must admit, I am surprised that the mighty Leaf Village isn't showing off the last Uchiha," commented the Kazekage. "Yes, well, he wasn't ready for the exam. It's been decided that he would take the Jounin exam instead at a later date," replied the Hokage. Suddenly, feathers started to fall around the crowd, and they started to fall asleep. The Kazekige's bodyguards then ran forward to intercept the incoming Anbu. The Kazekige released an explosive device and took the Hokage hostage. Naruto jumped back and stared as the Kazekige guards revealed themselves and performed to trap everyone inside a large purple box. Naruto watched as the Kazekige revealed himself as Orochimaru. He watched as they had a semi-proxy battle before disrobing and revealing their battle armor. "Naruto, I don't want you to get involved in this," said Sarutobi. Sarutobi threw some, and Orochimaru shouted out his technique, Kuchis. Ito Tensei. Sarutobi and Naruto watched as two wooden coffins rose from the ground. The lids fell off, and when the smoke cleared, it revealed the bodies of the first and second Hokages. Sarutobi and Naruto watched in shock as the bodies moved and the coffins fell to the ground. Naruto, after listening to Orochimaru gloat about the awesomeness of the technique, decided to do something different. "Hey, Hibi, I think it's time I even things up a bit," he said. Naruto bit his thumb and rubbed it over the tattoos on his left arm. In a massive puff of smoke, Sarutobi, Orochimaru, and the Anbu watching saw something that was completely unexpected. Standing in front of Naruto were the first, second, and fourth Hokages. For the remainder of the fight, Orochimaru's summons will be known as first, second, Orochimaru will be spelled out. Naruto's puppets will be known as Showdown, Nidaime, and Yondaime. Everyone looked on in shock as Naruto attached chakra strings to the puppets, while Orochimaru inserted the seals into the cages. Naruto looked at Sarutobi and said, "You deal with Orochimaru, I'll deal with the cages." Sarutobi nodded and took off towards the suddenly pale Orochimaru. Naruto looked at the two mages as he took off the cloak he was wearing. Underneath the cloak, Naruto revealed his new armor. His chest plate looked like red dragon scales in several layers. Under each scale was a seal that had one of several weapons, senbon, kunai, and on his forearms were red bracers that could produce chakra swords for a surprise attack. The first and second ran forward to attack, and the second leapt onto the top of the roof. As the first closed in, he threw a series of punches, only for the Nidaime to come in and intercept the blows, while the Showdown performed a leg sweep, sending the first stumbling. The Nidaime came up and landed several hard chakra-reinforced punches, sending the first back. The second leapt off the roof and landed behind Naruto, intent on catching the puppet user from behind. As he neared, he was intercepted by the Yondaime, who sent a strong punch to the face and a Rasengan to the 2nd's gut, sending him landing next to the first who was getting back up. Naruto watched as the smoke rose from the hole in his chest. He watched fascinated and surprised as the hole in the 2nd's chest healed up and he stood up ready to fight again. "I am so screwed," he said. The second started to perform hand seals, and Naruto, recognizing what he was about to do, had to do his own. Sutin, Sashaha, Mokutin, Tree Wall. The second launched a massive wave of water at Naruto, while they created a wall of trees to block the water. Elsewhere, Sarutobi and Orochimaru separated and jumped over the water, then landed atop its surface before resuming the battle once more. Once the wave stopped, Naruto and his three puppets jumped out from behind the tree wall, only to find both the first and second rushing them. Quickly doing some quick hand seals, the and Yondaime sent fireballs at the pair, only for the second to unleash a water wall to protect them. "Time to take this up a bit," said Naruto. Quickly twitching his fingers, he performed some seals and yelled out, "Mokutin Hijutsu. Jukai Kauten." Large tree roots slowly sprang from the ground. One large root smacked into the second, sending him flying into Orochimaru. Quickly the trees began to fell the purple box, directing them to entangle the first, second, and Orochimaru. He succeeded in catching the second, but Orochimaru simply jumped from branch to branch, while the first brought out his own roots to counter the Shadais. Naruto looked around at the new scenery and thought, well, now things are going to get interesting. Tower. During the beginning of the invasion, Sasuke had quickly set up several traps to catch the enemy off guard. And it worked, for the most part. About 35 sound nin came to the tower, under the orders of Orochimaru to take anything of value. Sasuke cursed his luck, while the rest of the ninja were evacuating the civilians, and fighting back. He was stuck at the tower. He cursed again. He hid in the shadows, as the leader walked up to the doors, only for Sasuke to pull a wire, and have boiled oil fall from an upper floor, killing the man instantly. The others instantly went on guard, but Sasuke was already ahead of them. He pulled more wires, each one set up with a dozen kunai. 3 dozen kunai came at the ninjas from all sides, killing half of them. The other half quickly separated and went to look for the attackers. Sasuke deactivated his gravity seals and said a silent prayer for all the extra training. Flashback. Sasuke was standing on a cliff with his sensei and Naruto, who decided to show up for a few minutes. "Okay Sasuke, the upcoming battle will decide if you have the potential to kill your brother or not. Of course, if you lose and die, it wouldn't matter, but still. I have decided to increase your gravity weights for this month's training," said Naruto. He quickly formed a seal, and Sasuke fell flat on his face. "I have increased your weights up to 50 times Earth's normal gravity. I will now leave you in Kakashi's capable hands," said Naruto, who disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke craned his neck with much effort to look at Kakashi, who had an evil gleam in his eye, for the first time since he met Naruto. He felt fear enter his heart. Then flashback. Sasuke watched from the shadows, as a pair of 2 Chunin landed right in front of him, with their backs to him. He quickly pulled out 2 kunai, and ran forward. Before they knew what happened, they were dead. Thanks to the gravity seals, his speed was, in the words of Kakashi, low and level, at least. He quickly jumped off the building and hid in its shadow. He watched as the remaining 5 Chunin and 1 Jounin stayed close together in a group. Thinking of a plan, he formed a cross-shaped seal and created some clones. The Sound Jounin did not like how this was going. It was supposed to be easy. The enemy would be occupied with the summons on the front gates, leaving the tower undefended. He had a group of 34 Chunin under his command, and in a span of a second, it was cut down to this measly little group. He was not happy in the least. If he lived, Orochimaru would reward his failure with death, and that was if he was lucky. Suddenly he feels a chakra signature, and turns to see a group of 3 boys running at him. He looks closely, and sees they each have red eyes with 3 Tomo, Sharingan. Before he could capture the child for his leader, all 3 disappeared, and raced around him at incredible speeds. They were going so fast that the Sound Nin didn't notice a 4th join in. Suddenly one ran from the circle, and charged the group. He ducked under the Jounin, and went to attack the Chunin, killing 2 before being taken down. The others quickly joined in, and rushed the Chunin from all sides, killing them instantly. The Jounin stands his ground, staring at the 4 Sasukes before him. What for? When did he come in? He shakes his head of these thoughts, and tries to focus. One of the clones speeds forward, and tries to punch the Jounin, only to block the punch, and receive one in turn, causing the clone to disperse. The others run forward, and surround him before coming in from all sides. The Jounin leaps into the air, and twirls around, kicking one clone in the face, followed by another, as he lands. He blocks a kick, and catches the leg. He breaks the leg, causing the clone to disperse. He looks at the lone Uchiha, and says, "I'm guessing you're the real one." He runs forward, and grabs Sasuke. When he looks down, he sees Sasuke smirk, and say, "Boom. Boom." The huge explosion caught the Jounin by surprise, sending him into the air. Before he can counterattack, he sees a shadow above him, and the real Sasuke comes rushing down in the air, and slams a kunai into the man's heart. He's dead before he hits the ground. Sasuke smiles. Well, he can't make explosive clones. One with explosive notes is just as good. Konoha Hospital. Sakura was rushing, as fast as she could, her hands glowing green, as she tried to save the life of the Chunin under her care. After the initial invasion began, casualties came swarming in. She wasn't allowed to fight. They had Anbu guard for that, and she was told to try and heal as many as she could, so they could go out fighting again. She looked down at the man's face, and smiled sadly. She healed him already when he was caught by an enemy kunai. She lifted her hands, and closed the dead man's eyes. She said a quick prayer, and then went back to work. All she could do was save as many as possible, and hope that none of her friends and teammates would come in. Arena. Kakashi landed next to Guy. He took a look around, and had to say he was impressed. All the genin, Kiba, Hinata, Ino, Tenten, Nichi, Lee, Shino, Choji, even Shikamaru were fighting, even if he didn't want to. He chanced to look at the Sand siblings, only to find them idle. Not once had they moved to fight. He was, of course, suspicious. But he kept them in the back of his mind. He had more fighting to do. Gaara, I don't mean to question you, but why are we not fighting? Asked a nervous Temari. Gaara simply stood, and started walking out of the arena. Slowly, they made their way through Konoha, until they came to Training Field 7. He then turned, and said, "We don't fight, because I will fight here." Kinkuro and Temari look at him, then at each other, then at him again. Gaara ignores them, and sits on the grass. Ninja Academy. Gaara sat on a swing, watching, as a pair of Sound Chunin started walking up to her saying many crude things. She simply ignored them, until they came in range. With a quick twitch of her fingers, 2 figures leapt out from the shadows, wrapped one Chunin up in a spike chain, pulled, and turned him to ribbons. Before the other Chunin could act, her puppet slashed open his throat, killing him. She stood up, and looked her puppets over. The demon brother of Kiri, her first human puppets, a present from Naruto, her beloved. Over the course of the past month he had spent a great deal of time training her for this. He had said, "I want you to be strong. I will not always be there to protect you, so you must learn to protect yourself. I will train you in my sacred art, so that you can protect yourself." She had taken his words to heart, and had listened intently, and trained hard. She believed that Naruto-kun was proud of her, even if he would never admit it. She heard a sound, and turned to find Iruka, one of Naruto-kun's precious people, walking towards her with a smile. "The academy has been evacuated successfully, thank you for the help." She simply smiled, and followed him to the evacuation shelters. Yujito was given the hardest job of all, fighting at the front gate. Luckily, Naruto didn't leave her unprepared. When the invasion started, she channeled some chakra, and activated the trap seals Naruto had placed the night before. It was messy, to say the least. The first one was an explosive seal, a big explosive seal. It had taken out a snake, and a large group of the first wave. She was still trying to get the flesh bits out of her hair. The second seal was a special seal. It was also a doubled layer trap. First, it caught a group of about 50 Chunin in a pit, then another seal inside flooded it with hot molten steel. She doubted they would find the bodies. She ran into Jiraiya during the fight. He summoned a frog to fight 2 of the 4 remaining snakes, and they teamed up for the remainder. Currently, she was in her Nibi form, with Jiraiya on top of Gamabunta, fighting the giant 3-headed snakes, and Manda. She was going against the 3-headed snake. Luckily, she was far more powerful, so she ran up at top speed, and jumped off the roof of a building. She sent a swipe of her claws, which sent a stream of Nibi chakra, and took off 2 of the heads. She landed on the 3rd head, and began to send Nibi's death chakra into the brain, killing it. She then had a sudden idea. Drawing upon the Nibi's chakra, she used its special ability, and brought the corpses of the snakes back to life, and under her command. She then ordered them to attack Manda, while she reverted back to human form, and jumped onto Gamabunta's head next to Jiraiya. He looked at the corpses attacking their former master, who was fighting them, and Gamabunta, and cursing enough to make a sailor proud. Jiraiya then turned to Yujito, and asked, "What the hell is that?" She smiled, and replied, "Nibi's special ability is to control the dead. She can't bring back the souls of the dead, only the bodies, and they obey her without question. That includes rotting corpses, skeletons, everything. As long as it's not dust, then it can be used. If I had access to a graveyard, I could make an entire army." Jiraiya looked at her for a bit, nodded, then went back to watching Gamabunta laughing at Manda. Tsunade. The old Hokage dodged another of his former student's sword strikes, and parried another with his summon, Enma, who was in staff form. He chanced to look over at Naruto, who was doing a remarkable job of fighting the 2 resurrected Hokages. But there's only a limit one could do against someone with the same abilities. Every time Naruto caught one down, they would simply regenerate, which from the cursing he could tell was pissing Naruto off to no end. Tsunade nodded. He knew what had to be done. He created a clone to occupy Orochimaru, and made his way to Naruto. His presence was enough of a distraction to the 2 cages that the Yondaime was able to slam another Rasengan into both their chests. It would last for a minute at most. "Naruto, I'm sorry, but we cannot win this like a conventional battle. I'll be using the technique the 4th used to seal them into you. I'll seal the cages, and Orochimaru with me, and take them to the stomach of the Shinigami. I'm so sorry." Before Tsunade could finish, Naruto grabbed him in a hug, then released it, and grasped his forearm. It was an honor to fight with Hokage-sama. Tsunade smiled, and then said, "Quickly, I need you to prepare to hold back Orochimaru's guards, until the ritual is complete." Naruto listened, then he placed a cage, and himself at each corner of the barrier, ready to intercept. Naruto made eye contact with the Anbu, and they took the meaning, so they arrayed themselves at each corner, ready to fight the Sound 4. Tsunade smiled at the sight of such teamwork, then he summoned 2 shadow clones. The clone ran, and caught each cage from behind in a submission hold right, as they got up. He performed the seals, and ran to Orochimaru, who had already dispelled the clone, and Tsunade caught the snake Sannin in a bear hug for the ritual. Suddenly, the sky turned black, and a form appeared, its white hair, its empty black eyes watching. "What are you doing?" yelled Orochimaru in fear at the sight before him. "I am going to take you with me to the afterlife. I'm positive that the souls of those here today that you have violated will like to have a nice chat with you, in hell," said Tsunade. Soon, the hand of the Shinigami reached in, and pulled out the souls of the 2 cages, dispelling their bodies to ash. Then it reached its hand into the back of Tsunade, and into Orochimaru's stomach. Orochimaru, not to be outdone, summoned his sword to stab Tsunade in the back. Only for Naruto to run forward, and catch the handle. Enma returned to normal, but was too weak to help. He watched the determination in Naruto's eyes, as he pulled hard, trying to keep the sword at bay. But it was futile. The sword left his grip, and plunged into the back of Tsunade. By now, Naruto could see that Orochimaru was pulling his own soul back. "You won't take me, never. I still have to learn I still need more power," yelled the snake Sannin in his madness. Tsunade smiled, and said, "I may be unable to take your full soul, but I will take your ability to use it." The sword of the Shinigami came down, and cut the arms of Orochimaru's soul off, before pulling them into himself. Tsunade's body separated from Orochimaru, who was screaming in agony, as his arms turned black. Naruto ran forward, pulled out the Kusanagi, and picked up Tsunade in his arms. For the first time in a long time, Naruto allowed tears to stream down his face. "No, don't die, not yet," he cried. Tsunade smiled, and said in a weak voice, "Naruto, I am so proud of you. You have become strong, for your precious people. I know Gaara is precious, I see how you look at her, treasure her. I'm sorry I couldn't be more of a good presence." He coughed up some blood. Naruto looked him in the eyes, and said, "You are my grandfather, you are my family, you are all I ever wanted." Tsunade smiled, then he closed his eyes, and died, with a smile on his face. Naruto doubled over, and let out an anguished scream. Then, he looked up when the barrier fell. "They will pay." As the Sound 4 made their way to Orochimaru, Naruto, and his puppets intercepted them. Using his insane speed, Yondaime slammed a double Rasengan into the stomachs of Kidomaru and Taiya. The second picked up the Kusanagi, and slashed off the heads of Seiken and Yukin, while the first showed his insane strength, and punched a literal hole in Jirobo's stomach, before the second decapitated him. Orochimaru and the Anbu watched in horror as Naruto showed no mercy. Naruto then turned around, and his eyes, his cold steel eyes, were filled with such fury that Orochimaru took an involuntary step back. Quickly vines erupted from the ground to secure Orochimaru. He chanced to look over, and saw the first holding a hand sign. Naruto took the Kusanagi from the Nidain, and walked over to the snake Sannin. You did this. You have caused much suffering, you killed my grandfather, and you invaded my home. You are responsible for his soul spending an eternity in agony. I think that it's time you pay your due, snake, said Naruto in such a cold voice that even the Anbu shook in their boots. Naruto stopped in front of him, and said, I will make it my personal mission to see that you suffer. He then plunged the Kusanagi, Orochimaru's own sword, into his heart, killing him. He then released the body, and sealed it away for later. Kakashi, who had just arrived, and witnessed the whole conversation, walked up to his student, and asked, Are you turning him into a puppet? Naruto looked at him, and replied, No, I do not want his stench to taint my collection. But his body still has uses. It may hold the key to saving the soul of the Sandang. With that, Naruto sealed up his puppets, and walked over to the Sandang. He reached down, and placed his right hand on the third's forehead, said a silent prayer, then left in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi looked on and thought, I fear that this will be the last time we will see any emotion from him. This is only going to close him off more. Sensei, I'm so sorry. Training Field 7. Naruto arrived at the training field to see Gaara waiting patiently. He had some stress to take out. Temari and Kankuro looked at Naruto, then at Gaara, then the realization sunk in, they were going to fight to the death. Naruto stared at Gaara, Gaara stared back. So, are you here to validate my existence? Asked Gaara. Naruto simply stared, and replied, I am here to kill you, or for you to kill me. That is the existence of both of us today. Gaara simply nodded, before turning back to Temari and Kankuro, leaving the area. Obeying his wish, they left to a safe distance. Gaara let his sand pour out of his gourd, while Naruto unsealed Danzo and Sai puppets. Gaara lashed out with his sand, and it quickly covered Naruto, when suddenly there was a bang, and the sand exploded everywhere with smoke rising from the left arm of Danzo. Naruto looked at him, and said, Don't hold back, I won't. Gaara took that as a sign, and started to gather as much yokai as he could, and the sand started to cover his body. Soon he looked like the miniature Tanuki demon, then with speed that was surprising for its size, it landed right in front of Naruto, and took several swipes with its claws, all blocked by Sai's sword. Naruto jumped back, and had Danzo rush in. The puppet unleashed a series of fast and powerful strikes, first a punch to the gut with his fist, then an uppercut with his iron fist. Gaara went flying into the air, where Sai drew a large black falcon that flew, and slammed into Gaara's body, sending it crashing into the ground. Before he could recover both Danzo and unleash Kaiten, Enu endurance to fry the area. When the smoke cleared, it revealed Gaara had used his tail as a shield. Gaara leapt up, and started to unleash air bullets, but Naruto and his puppets dodged easily. They ran around until Sai jumped into the air, and unleashed a large black ink dragon. The dragon went to encircle Gaara, who merely used his sand to attack, and disperse the dragon. As Gaara landed, Sai came down, and tried to slash Gaara with the sword, only to have Gaara hit him with his tail. Gaara turned to see Naruto himself running up to engage Gaara. Naruto punched Gaara in the stomach. When he began to laugh, Naruto smiled, and unleashed a chakra blade, which a point-blank cut through the sand, and hit Gaara in the stomach. Naruto quickly jumped back, as the sand revealed Gaara was bleeding. Temari and Kankuro looked on in shock, as they had never seen their brother bleed before. Naruto quickly sealed up Sai and Danzo, and unleashed Sephiroth, Haku, and Zabuza. Before Gaara could react, Naruto had Haku send thousands of ice needles at him, but Gaara's defense sprang up just in time, only for it to be cut down by Zabuza, and Gaara had to jump back to avoid the strike of Sephiroth. Kankuro was watching in complete awe, so, this is what true puppet combat is like. Temari, for the first time, was actually scared that Gaara would not make it. The Uzumaki seemed to be a formidable opponent. Gaara laughed, Yes, you are powerful. The rumors about you are true indeed. I will show the world my existence by beating you. Gaara then decided to gather all his sand, and he revealed his true form, a giant walking sand tanuki. Naruto looked up at him, and thought, This is certainly interesting. How to combat a giant. Gaara looked down at Naruto, and raised his arm to smash Naruto. Naruto and his puppets jumped back to avoid the massive strike which sent the earth rumbling. Naruto quickly had Zabuza perform a waterfall to soak Gaara's feet, then he had Haku freeze the water. As the water was frozen, and Gaara temporarily distracted, Naruto jumped up with his puppets, and ran to the head, only to have to jump off to avoid an arm strike. Gaara laughed again, and said, Mother wants to taste your blood herself, so let's see how you do against her. Temari and Kankuro knew what this meant, and were scared. Naruto watched, as Gaara's form emerged from the top of the head, and put himself into a deep sleep. Yes. Shukaku's back, baby, yelled the giant tanuki. Naruto knew he was in trouble, because he didn't have anything that could match Shukaku in size. Coming up with an idea, he hid his puppets in the forest below, and created several shadow clones, each one running in a different direction to distract the stupid demon. Somewhere, deep in Naruto's mind he could hear chuckling, but he decided he would deal with his questionable sanity later. He secretly had Zabuza perform another water technique, while he himself did a water technique. Catching Shikaku by surprise, he managed to soak the demon's legs up to the waist. Haku quickly frees the water. While Tanuki was trying to break the ice, Naruto ran up to him in an attempt to get to Gaara, only to have to dodge the arms again. Damn it. I'm going to have to freeze the arms too, but how? He said to himself. Then suddenly a light bulb went off. He didn't want to have to use it, because the Nidaime had seen enough battle for one day, but he had to do it. He created even more clones, each one running up the Shikaku arms, quarantining to distract the demon, as it protected its host. He quickly unsealed the Nidaime, and then he, the cage, and Zabuza produced enough water to soak Shikaku up to his neck, which Haku quickly froze. Then using a bit of genius, he had Sephiroth and Zabuza cut off the frozen arms, and the frozen legs. It would take Shikaku a moment longer to regenerate its sand limbs, than to break the ice. Naruto quickly ran up to the head, which was closer to the ground, and punched Gaara hard, breaking off the sand armor. Before Gaara could recover the sand armor, Naruto took a poison, and pricked Gaara on the cheek with it. Gaara felt the effect immediately. Naruto sealed all his puppets except Sephiroth, in case the siblings proved to be trouble. Gaara looked at Naruto, and Naruto looked back, then suddenly Naruto spoke, I have injected poison into your system, you will be dead in minutes. I promise to tie the demon to this world, so that you may find peace in the afterlife. For the first time, Gaara understood. Temari and Kankuro came up to Naruto, and Naruto stayed back, but not too far, as he allowed the siblings this last moment of peace. Temari, Kankuro. I'm sorry. I really do love you all. Forgive me. Asked Gaara. The siblings looked at each other, and Temari said, I forgive you. I love you, brother. Kankuro looked and said, I forgive you, man. Tried to find the peace in the afterlife that you couldn't find here. Gaara nodded, and then said to Naruto, you win. Your existence is stronger. Then Gaara closed his eyes for the first and last time, with a smile on his face. Temari openly cried into Gaara's body. Naruto walked forward and said, I have won, I will take his body, and leave. Temari and Kankuro looked up in shock. Please, let us take him back sooner for a proper burial, pleaded Temari. Naruto looked at her, and then said, no, he is mine. Kankuro stood up angrily and said, you're going to make him into a puppet, aren't you? Naruto looked at him and said, yes. Kankuro was about to attack in anger, only to stop when he felt Sephiroth's sword at his throat. Too many have died today, no more, said Naruto. He placed a special seal on the Gaara demon seal, then sealed the body and the sand into his scroll. Before he left he said, as a puppet, your brother will continue to live on, and instead of being hated in his home village, he can help the lives of others. We both know that his grave would be desecrated sooner. He would never truly have peace. And if you blame someone for this, you could blame me for killing his body, but his mind and heart were dead long before I came along. Blame your father for all that he has done to your family, if it is revenge you want, take it out on him. He started this whole cycle. Temari and Kankuro calmed down a bit, knowing what he said was true. Their brother's body would have been dragged through the streets in the sun, and it was their father that started this with his obsession with power. But that didn't mean they weren't angry with Naruto. I swear Uzumaki, someday I will be strong, and strong enough to take back my brother, and truly give him peace, vowed Kankuro. Naruto awoke to find himself in a different environment than what he fell asleep to. He looked around, and determined he was in a sewer, but how he got there was unknown to him, so he walked forward following the pipes, and soon came across a large gate with the word seal acting as a lock. Realization dawned on him where he was. Soon, two large bloody red eyes opened to stare down at the young Uzumaki. So I see my container has finally arrived, good. I have been awaiting you for quite some time, said the demon. The no Kitsune, once mighty demon who fell to a measly human, who coincidentally I now control, said Naruto in a mocking voice. Do not mock me, human. I am still the mighty demon, said a furious. Naruto looked up at Kyuubi showing no fear, and demanded, tell me why I'm here. The fox looked at him, and replied, Bekase wanted to meet you. I have watched you for a very long time. From when you were a pitiful child to the cold, heartless man you are now. I must say that I am impressed, your ruthlessness is quite admirable. I have also invited you here because I want to make a deal. I will offer you weapons of extraordinary power, in exchange for a simple favor. I'm not letting you out, said Naruto. The fox looked at him for a moment, then replied, no, it's not that, besides, it's impossible. I have studied this seal for a long time now, and I have discovered that even if you pull off that seal on the cage, there are backup seals on the bars that will keep me here. So I'm stuck here for all time. Naruto looked closely, and after a minute he was able to make out hundreds of seals on the bars, thus preventing the demon's escape. Wow, sucks for us. No fucking kidding. Anyways, what I offer is simple. I will take you to several secret locations around the nations where I have stashed my weapons. Now you may wonder what they are. Well, let me enlighten you. The weapons I offer are the 5 bodies of the world's very first shinobi. Naruto's eyes widened at that. Yes, I see you understand. The first shinobi, they use techniques that have long since been lost, and their power was beyond even the Yondaime. I have collected their bodies, and their weapons when they died. I even placed them under preservation, just in case I discovered a use for them. I offer them to you, as well as teaching you aspects of sealing that you can't even imagine. Sounds promising, doesn't it? Naruto nodded, and then he turned suspicious, and asked, what do you want in return? The fox laughed then said, why, I want revenge of course. You see, this was originally going to be 2 partners. The first thing I wanted you to do was break into the Yondaime grave, and piss on the body. But since you are putting him to use, that works, as well. The other thing I want is for you to kill someone for me. Tell me, what do you know about Uchiha Madara? Naruto thought for a minute, and replied, Uchiha Madara was the founder of the Uchiha clan. He later turned rogue, and fought a battle with the first and second Hokages at the Valley of the End. It was said that the 3 used so much power, and so many jutsus that the landscape was forever changed. They nodded in approval. Yes, that is correct. But what if I told you the hidden secrets of the man, and that battle? Naruto looked interested, and the fox continued. You see, Madara was originally a Hyuga, eyes and all. However, he grew ambitious. He was part of the branch house, and he wanted something that is denied to all branch house members, power. So, he sought me out, and made a deal in secret. I would create a new bloodline just for him and his children, and remove the caged bird seal, and in exchange he would help me deal with my rival, Shikaku. Well, I created the bloodline, and gave him the Sharingan, and since he had a new bloodline, he became a member of the new Uchiha clan. This, by the way, pissed off the other Hyuga, thus the blood feud. Well, as time went on, he reached the final tomo of the Sharingan, but he wanted more. So he had a theory, since it was demonic chakra that created the line, then maybe he could use demonic chakra to evolve it. Back then, all the Biju were placed in human vessels, including me, so no, this is not my first time. Though this seal is much stronger than the last one. So he went around, and sealed all the Biju into a statue of his own creation, including me. Eventually, he absorbed all the demons, and the Manjutsu Sharingan was born. Of course, having the power of all the demons would make any man power hungry, so he went around trying to conquer the world. The first Hokage, however, wanted to stop that. So the first did something that was considered impossible. He summoned Kami himself. Like the contract with the Shinigami, the first made a contract to summon Kami, and he did. Needless to say that summoning the Supreme Being is a very bad idea. Don't ever attempt it. However, Kami is kind, so he listened, as he first pleaded with him, asking for a way to stop the monster that Madara had become. So Kami, being all-wise, decided to help. He gave the first the ability to suppress demons and their hosts. Using that ability, he took his brother and their young apprentice Sarutobi, who by that time was known as the god of shinobi, along to stop the man. During that battle, Madara unleashed all the power of the tailed beasts, but every time the first landed a hit, the demon suppressor would take effect, thus freeing one of us at a time. Needless to say that when one of us was freed, we ran like hell from the battle site. Eventually, after I was freed, Madara, suffering from loss of power, was apparently killed by the first. In gratitude, I healed the life-threatening injuries of the first, and left. However, it is the circumstances of the defeat of Madara that's really important. You see, the shinobi didn't have the power to completely kill Madara, he was still too strong. So what the first did, using the chakra of his brother and apprentice, opened a portal to a Hell dimension, and sent the half-dead Madara there. However, a number of years ago, when he returned, he was extremely weak, but in human terms he could still kick your ass with a look. So, he did something that surprised even me. He summoned me from my home. I had no choice but to obey him. So he sent me to Konoha, where, as you know, I attacked and was defeated. Now there were 2 reasons why he did this. It was not revenge. 1. He needed to kill Yondaime. The man's Hiraishin was so powerful that it would have killed Madara, not to mention that the man's genius could rival his own, so Madara needed the man gone. 2. He needed me sealed into a vessel. The reason being is that I am more powerful than him, but because of his crafty use of seals he managed to temporarily gain control of me. So, as you can see, his plan worked. I have no doubt that even, as we speak, he is planning on doing the same for all Biju, so he can once again return to the power he once had. The reason I'm offering you these weapons is because only they have the power to win, for no one, not even Madara, knows of the power of the first shinobi. I need you to kill Madara before he can gather a soul. However, we have time. He is still weak, so you can train for a number of years before confronting him. Trust me, you will need it. Naruto listened to the tale with interest and some shock. He carefully weighed his options, gain powerful puppies, or die a horrible death for a madman bent on destroying the world. I accept your offer, said Naruto. They smiled. Good. When you are able to leave we will start the training. But first, you must wake up. Real world. Naruto opened his eyes to see Gaara hovering over him. "Naruto-kun, are you okay? I've been trying to wake you for 5 minutes," she said. Naruto replied with, "I'm fine, I'll tell you about a rather interesting vision I had later. But first, we have business to take care of." It was some 30 minutes later that Naruto and Gaara, dressed in the traditional black robes for funerals, took their place in the front row of people attending the memorial service for those last in the invasion. Naruto's eyes immediately looked for the picture of the Hokage. Hyuga Hiyashi stood at a podium to give a small speech. "We are gathered here today to pay our last respects for the fallen. In this terrible battle, we have lost many fine shinobi. Our Hokage, Sarutobi Sasuke, died in a valiant battle against the traitorous Orochimaru, and it is because of his efforts and his closest ally." At that point everyone looked at Naruto. It is because of them that the great snake of evil was vanquished. It is also because of the sacrifices of the many shinobi that the invasion was repelled. Others among the slain are the elders Humur and Kaheru, who died while trying to delay the enemy advance into the village. We also lost several civilians, some on the council, and some who were not. Even though they were not shinobi, they took it upon themselves to defend the place they called home. May we all pray that they have safe passage to the afterlife, and have the blessings of Kami. Finished Hiyashi. During the speech, Naruto reflected on one of the last conversations he had with the old man. Flashback. After going over the planning for his traps, Sarutobi decided to ask Naruto one last favor. "Naruto, I need one last favor from you. I know that I will die during the invasion, but there are people in this village who will take advantage of my death. There are members of the council that, as soon as I am gone, will no doubt try to have you killed and have Gaara taken into slavery. I want you to see to it that they die during the invasion. It is a necessary evil that must be done. I cannot allow such corruption to take my place when I die," he said. After passing Naruto the list, he memorized it, and then burned it. "I can slip some of my poison into their systems a day before the invasion. It is a slow-acting poison that takes 24 hours to have an effect. It will look like they died in battle," replied Naruto. The old man nodded with the idea, giving his silent approval. In the end, Naruto slipped the poison into their meals at breakfast time. It was painfully easy. Then flashback. After the speech, everyone walked up and placed a white rose onto the table holding the pictures of the fallen. Naruto stayed a moment longer to gaze at the Sandame's picture before moving on. As Naruto was leaving, a certain snake mistress was watching the couple with interest. As Naruto was making his way home, he was approached by Jiraiya. "Hey kid. I'm here to tell you that you have been named in the Sandame's will. You are to be at his old office in an hour." With that the Sandan disappeared in smoke. 1 hour later, at Hokage's office. Naruto arrived dressed in a black cloak, concealing his battle armor underneath. He took a seat and focused his eyes on Jiraiya. "Okay, now that everyone is here, let's get this over with," said the Sandan. "I, Sandame Sarutobi Sasuke, of sound mind and body are here to bequeath my assets to the following people. To Haruno Sakura, I give all my texts on medicine, and you can pick them up at the clan compound. To Rock Lee, I give you the book, 1001 Ways to Woo the Kunoichi of Your Dreams." Lee stood up and silently took the book from Jiraiya. "To Yamanaka Ino, I give you all my texts on the human mind and psychology. You can pick them up at the compound. To Akamichi Choji, I give you my gold card membership to the BBQ pit." Choji stood up and took the card from Jiraiya, all the while holding it, as if it would fly away. "To Nara Shikamaru, I give my rare marble carved shogi set, with the pieces carved from jade." Shikamaru approached and took the box from Jiraiya with a look of complete shock on his face. "To Hyuga Niji, I give you blackmail on the entire Hyuga establishment to use to get that cursed seal banned forever." Niji stood and accepted the heavy folder with a look of complete happiness. "To Tenten, I give you my prize kunai set." Tenten took the items with reverence. "To Hyuga Hinata, I give you a complete set of self-confidence books." She took the book shyly. "To Aburam Shino, I give you my prized insect, the praying mantis." Shino took the insect. Even though people couldn't see it, they could feel the joy coming off the boy. "To Inizuka Kiba, I give you some steel claws to help make your attacks more powerful." Kiba stood and accepted the weapons with glee. "To Uchiha Sasuke, I give you the scrolls containing all the information on your brother the village has collected, his entire Anbu profile, and some counter jutsus to the jutsus that he knows. All can be picked up at the compound." Sasuke fainted. It took 5 minutes to wake him so the reading could continue. "2. I give you a set of my battle armor to use when you get older." To Yuden, I give you my complete collection on mathematical theory. To Mogi, I gave some of my late wife's Kunoichi books to improve training. All items picked up at the compound. To Haida Kakashi, I give you my complete collection of the limited platinum editions of the Icha Icha series. Kakashi fainted, and it took 10 minutes to wake him. And finally, to Uzumaki Naruto, I give you a set of my battle armor. I give you my most prized staff. The staff is made from the strongest metal in the land. And I also give you my body, to turn into a combat puppet. Everyone looked at Naruto in shock at that last one. Even he couldn't keep his eyes from bulging, and his mouth from dropping. Naruto simply said, "What? I also named my son Sarutobi Asuma, clan head. That is all the business I have to distribute." Jiraiya then looked to Naruto, who hadn't made a move since the announcement. Once everyone left, Naruto was approached by Jiraiya. "Come by the compound tonight to get the items, otherwise the villagers will stir up a ruckus, okay kid?" Naruto simply nodded. When Jiraiya left, Naruto was alone in the room, and he sprang into action. He went over to the wall safe, and cracked it open. There he found what he was looking for, the Shinigami summoning scroll. Dear reader, if you are reading this, then you are about to seal away a great evil. The Shikifuin is a seal designed to trade your soul in order to seal another soul inside yourself. But this is a two-step process. 1. The first step is negotiation. You must summon the Shinigami beforehand, and negotiate with it for your goals. If it deems you fit, you move on to step 2. Naruto ignored step 2, and signed his name next to Sarutobi Sasuke. After that he put the scroll back, and left to go to his apartment. He had research to conduct. Naruto's home. Naruto went into the puppet lab, where he had stored the body of Orochimaru. He laid the body on the table, and pulled out his extraction tools, and he disrobed the snake, and prepared for extraction. It was several hours later that Naruto had chronicled what he wanted. He also recorded others, for later use. He then sealed away the body, knowing he had more jutsus to learn from the Sannin, and he departed. Konoha. As Naruto walked the nighttime shadows, he was thinking over his plan. It was then that he heard a struggle going on. Curious, he turned, and entered an alleyway where he spied a rogue Chunin stealing from a woman. Naruto launches into the guy's neck, killing him, and allowing the girl to flee without knowing who her savior was. Happy, Naruto takes the Chunin, and heads to a clearing deep in the forest to perform his ritual. As Naruto entered the clearing, he set down the body, and started to form hand seals, prodigies, Shinigami. Soon the sky darkened, as a large figure draped in a white cloak, with black colorless eyes appeared. "Who dares to summon me?" "Again," said the being. Naruto walked up, and said, "I summoned you, Shinigami-sama." The Shinigami looked at Naruto for a moment, and then said, "You are too young. I will not take the soul of one so young to seal anything away." Naruto replied, "I am not here to ask for a seal. I have a proposition that I want you to listen to." That statement caught the Death God's attention. "You may speak. I want to offer an exchange. I will gather for you the souls of 4 powerful shinobi if in exchange you release the 4 Hokages, so that they may go to heaven," offered Naruto. The Shinigami thought about this for a moment, for this deal was different from what he usually got. "That is an interesting deal, 4 souls to replace the ones that I already have. What kind of souls are we talking about here, pure innocence, or those who have committed crimes that would fit the punishment?" asked the Shinigami. "They will be the souls of those that have committed atrocities on this plane. The souls you currently have don't deserve the punishment they currently receive," said Naruto. The Shinigami smiled a scary 2D smile. "You have it, young one. But how are you to perform the ritual without me taking your soul?" Naruto smiled. He drew a seal on the forehead of the Chunin, and went through some seals, and said, "Nido Tensei." Soon the Chunin body disappeared into the ground, and in its place a purple portal opened, and a coffin came out. When the portal shut, the coffin opened to reveal its occupant. What am I doing here?" asked Orochimaru. He turned his head to catch the sight of a smiling Naruto, and he turned back around to see the Shinigami. "This Lord Shinigami is the first soul I offer," said Naruto. Orochimaru suddenly became very afraid. "Ah yes, the man whose arms I have. You have cheated me, Snake. I only got part of your soul. Yes, I will gladly take the rest of it." As the Shinigami reached forward to claim the rest of Orochimaru's soul, he let out an earth-shattering scream, until Naruto tapped his mouth shut. Naruto watched, as the Death God took the soul, again dissolving the body, and swallowed it. Yes, I think I like this deal. As promised, here is the soul of the first to be released." The Shinigami opened his mouth, and a blue soul emerged. As it walked out, Naruto caught a glimpse of a shouting Hokage. "I look forward to the future souls of young Uzumaki," said the Death God before he disappeared. They looked at Naruto, and said, "I thank you, young Uzumaki. I know this is a difficult task you have set for yourself, and wish you luck. I will watch over you from the afterlife. Godspeed." With that he disappeared, right as Jiraiya appeared in the clearing. He looked at Naruto, and said, "I felt the presence of the Death God. Care to explain what is going on?" Naruto looked at him, and then told the story. He told of his plan to replace those who deserve better with those who deserve the punishment. Jiraiya was simply amazed with the ingenuity that the young man showed, and made a decision right then and there. "Kid, you are coming with me to find the next Hokage. We leave in a few days. Can you be ready by then?" "It will take me a week at least to prepare Sarutobi as a puppet. I can finish up on the road, but I need to start the process here," replied Naruto. Jiraiya nodded. "A week then." After the conversation, Naruto and Jiraiya snuck into the Sarutobi compound, not wanting to draw attention to him using the front doors, and he took Sarutobi's body, his armor, and his staff, and departed. As Naruto returned from his home, he met Yujiro in the living room. Naruto-sama, since you have been busy, I didn't have time to report that I succeeded in my secondary objectives. I obtained a body of sand jounin and a sound jounin for your use. I placed them in a preservation area and sealed them in this scroll," she said, giving the scroll to him. Naruto nodded and said, "You did well." He then went into his workshop to prepare Tsurutobi. 1 week later, Naruto stood at the gate waiting when Jiraiya, Sasuke, and Kakashi appeared. "Naruto, Sasuke will be joining us since Kakashi will be on a long-term mission, okay?" said Jiraiya. Naruto simply nodded. It was 3 hours later that Jiraiya stopped for some instruction. "Hey Naruto, I have a technique I want you to learn. Now watch carefully." He then quickly produced a Rasengan and allowed it to dissipate. "What do you think? Up for the challenge?" He looked at Naruto, who simply held out his hand, and a perfect Rasengan formed. Jiraiya's jaw hit the ground in shock, while Sasuke had to repress a smirk. How? How did you figure it out so fast?" asked Jiraiya. Naruto simply replied, "I have Yondaime as a puppet." Jiraiya simply looked at him, "So you know all his techniques then?" "Yes." Jiraiya sighed, and then he got an idea. "How about I show you a technique that even you don't know?" he offered. "Go on," replied Naruto. Jiraiya formed his seals carefully, and said, "Peeping no." Then his body shimmered, and he suddenly disappeared, rendering him completely invisible. Naruto and Sasuke looked on in interest, then when Jiraiya reappeared. "You and Sasuke will spend the next couple weeks mastering this technique," said Jiraiya. Naruto and Sasuke simply nodded before they continued their journey. 2 weeks later, hotel room. Naruto and Sasuke were frustrated. First their sensei disappeared when the first beautiful woman to notice him in a decade walked by. Now they were stuck inside a room with a broken TV. "If that lazy pervert doesn't return soon, he's becoming my next puppet," said Naruto. Sasuke simply grunted in agreement. Knock, knock. Curious, Naruto and Sasuke go to open their hotel room door, and what greets them is a surprise. "You will come with us, Naruto," said a voice. Naruto simply looks at the man, and replies, "So good to see you, Itachi." Naruto and Sasuke stood in the hallway, across from them Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame stood, waiting. Naruto looked over at his companion, grateful he forced Sasuke to attend Ibiki's anger management classes. "What do you wish for me, Itachi?" asked Naruto. "You will come with us," was the response. Naruto looked into the Uchiha eyes, and asked, "I wonder, what would 2's class missing nin want with me, a measly little genin? What value could I possibly have for you two? It can't be ransom, no one would pay it, so what I wonder." "We want that little demon in your tummy," said Kisame. Sasuke looked confused, but Naruto merely seemed to stare into their eyes. "You want fluffers? What could you want with fluffers?" It took all of Itachi's willpower to not grin at the name. It takes a lot of balls to call the most evil demon in existence fluffers. Kisame had no reservations, as he clutched his sides in laughter, but it all stopped when they felt a presence. "Well, what do we have here? 2's class missing nins attacking my genin, why would that be?" They all looked to see Jiraiya in the hall, a serious look on his face, as he stared down Itachi and Kisame. "Come Kisame, we leave, we cannot win this," said Itachi. "Wait." Everyone looked at Naruto as he spoke, "Don't leave me," and Sasuke wished to fight you too. Jiraiya would not interfere. "There is a field 2 kilometers out from the village, meet me there in an hour." Itachi seemed to think, and then he nodded, and disappeared with Kisame in a swirl of leaves. Once they were gone, Jiraiya rounded angrily on Naruto, "Why did you do this?" Sasuke looked interested, and listened, as Naruto spoke, "I find this to be an opportunity that cannot be passed up. Sasuke wishes to see how he measures up to Itachi, and I would very much like to add Kisame to my collection. Besides, if things go sour, I have several different escape plans that will save us." Jiraiya looked at Naruto hard, before he replied, "Fine, do as you wish, however, should you fail, I will step in, and deal with them both." Naruto simply nodded, deciding not to mention that was his main escape plan. In a field, 5 minutes later. Naruto and Sasuke stood across from Itachi and Kisame. Sasuke had already disabled his gravity weights, so he was ready to fight. Jiraiya stood on the sidelines watching intently. Quickly, they separate, Naruto going to Kisame, and Sasuke to Itachi. Naruto versus Kisame. Naruto quickly pulled out his Sephiroth, Cloud, and several Anbu puppets. He didn't want it known he uses cages. Sephiroth ran forward and swung his blade, only for Kisame to block it with his sword. Cloud ran around the back, and the Anbu were preparing jutsus. Cloud opened his wrist guns, and let loose a massive flame dragon, as the Anbu sent wind to make the flames stronger. Sephiroth jumps back to avoid the flames, while Kisame quickly performs hand seals, and a wall of water forms, blocking all the flames. As soon as Kisame lowers the water, Sephiroth and Clouds burst, and swing their swords high and low. Kisame expertly swats away the blades, and leaps back. "You're quite a good kid, I haven't actually worked up a sweat in a long time," said Kisame. Naruto simply didn't respond, he twitched his fingers, as he sent his puppets attacking. The Ambu throws several kunai at Kisum, who uses his swords to block. He then turns around and kicks Clouds in the stomach, making an audible crunch. Naruto quickly recalls the Cloud and seals him back up before unsealing Zabuza. Kisum stared in shock at his former teammate. Zabuza, how did you start? Why, it was quite simple. You see, I was on a mission when he turned up and got in my way. I simply couldn't allow it, so I killed him and decided that he would make a good puppet, said Naruto, as if it was an everyday conversation. Kisum simply stared at him until his face contorted in anger. I'll kill you, he roared. Kisum decided to forgo finesse and ran at Naruto, waving his sword madly. Naruto smiled, right where I want him. Kisum swung his sword at Naruto, only to have Sephiroth block it. The power Kisum sent behind the sword made a crater under Joseph's feet and sent a small shockwave out from them. Naruto couldn't hide the surprise from his face with such power. Zabuza came running up and slashed his sword at Kisum, who blocked and sent a punch for his face, only for Zabuza to duck and send a leg sweep. Kisum jumped over the leg and flipped, using Samehada to block a strike from Sephiroth. As Kisum landed, he was breathing heavily. He was about to go through some seals to perform when suddenly he couldn't move his legs. He looked down and saw sand, of all things, covering his feet. Before he could use his hands, more sand erupted from the ground and covered his hands. He was so surprised that scratched his cheek, drawing a little bit of blood. Naruto walked forward, and he had Gaara walk out from his hiding spot in the surrounding forest. That scratched your cheek was coated in a very potent poison. The poison will travel to your heart, stopping it, and you will die. You, Kisum, will join my collection as a puppet, said Naruto. Kisum looked at Naruto, feeling fear for the first time in a long time. You may have beaten me today, but the other swordsmen will kill you for this. They will not allow you to make us into abominations. It goes against our code. Kisum spit at Naruto defiantly before the poison took its effect, and he died. After waiting a few moments to make sure he was dead, Naruto approached the body and sealed it and the sword into a scroll. But not before taking off the Akatsuki ring, wishing to study it intently. He quickly seals all his other puppets and waits over next to Jiraiya, watching the conclusion between Sasuke and Itachi. Itachi versus Sasuke. Sasuke stood breathing hard in front of his brother, Itachi. Sasuke's body was covered in a variety of cuts and bruises, while Itachi had a small bruise on his left cheek. I see you have become a stronger little brother, but you're still not strong enough. You still don't hate me enough, said Itachi. Sasuke merely huffed until Itachi's eyes widened a fraction before he disappeared and appeared in front of Naruto and Jiraiya. He stared at them, as if calculating his chances of winning, before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke came over to Naruto and Jiraiya and asked, why did he disappear? Because he felt me killing his partner, replied Naruto. Sasuke merely nodded, then passed out. Hotel room, new one. After Sasuke was treated for his wounds, Jiraiya asked, can I watch you work on your next human puppet? I am curious as to what amount of work goes into creating such weapons. Naruto thought about it for a minute before replying, sorry, but the secret shall remain so until I know for a fact that I can trust you. Jiraiya nodded in understanding. He knew the boy had a rough life and didn't trust easily. 2 weeks later. Things have been going slowly for the team of 3. At first Sasuke was brooding because he didn't kill his brother. Then Naruto reminded him about how he surprised Itachi with his newfound speed and managed to land a blow on his cheek before the elder Uchiha wised up. That brought a small smile of satisfaction to Sasuke's face, only to disappear when Naruto said he should train harder and increase his weight, causing the Uchiha to make a rather amusing face plant. They soon arrived in a town and went straight to a bar where Jiraiya was hoping to find Tsunade. When they open the flaps, they see a head of blonde hair and follow Jiraiya to the table in the back. Jiraiya sits in front of Tsunade while Naruto and Sasuke sit on his right and left respectively. Ah, Tsunade, been a while huh? Said Jiraiya. Tsunade looked up from her drink and scowled. What do you want, Jiraiya? What? Can't a guy drop in on his former teammate every once in a while? He replied. Tsunade narrowed her eyes on him and said, cut the crap and get to the point. Jiraiya became serious and said, the village needs you. About 2 months ago the Leaf was invaded by both the Sound Village and Sand Village. Orochimaru had control of both of them and used them to attack. We suffered a great deal of losses and Sensei died in the attack. Tsunade looked up sharply and Jiraiya explained, Orochimaru challenged Sensei directly and knowing he couldn't win, used a forbidden word called Ito Tensei. The technique allows the user to revive the dead at the cost of human lives. He revived your great-grandfather, the Showdown, and your great-uncle, the Nidame. He used them to fight Sensei on his behalf, and well, to make a story short, Sensei died in the fight. And this kid here, he points to Naruto, killed Orochimaru as soon as he could. Tsunade looked at Naruto sharply, and Naruto simply looked back. This Phipps crate killed the snake, impossible, even if he was weakened by Sensei. And why do you need me? Naruto decided to let Jiraiya do the talking. This kid is stronger than he looks. He's already been given command of his own Anbu unit and helped during the invasion. And the council wants you to be Hokage. Tsunade scoffed and said, those old fools can want all they want, I'll not take such a useless job. Only worthless people take that job. Naruto reigned in his anger and simply waited. Those old fools, as you like to call them, are dead. You will be dealing with a much younger, better council, said Jiraiya. That got Tsunade's attention, then she simply snorted and said, but still, why would I want that job? All it did was kill people. Before she could do anything, she froze, suddenly finding herself unable to move. I placed some paralyzing poison into your sake when you were talking with that giant cave you call a mouth, said Naruto. Don't worry, it's non-lethal, it will wear off in about 3 hours. But what disturbs me is the fact that you, a supposed Sannin, missed it. I made it potent enough that a drunken academy student could have told the difference between that and normal sake. Doesn't speak highly of your skills now, does it? He continued. Naruto got up and leaned forward, his nose touching her nose. Your has been, it is you who is useless. He looks down at her chest, and then looks up at her grinning, though you may have uses after all, since being a shinobi is obviously not one of them. I am beginning to wonder why they call you the legendary sucker. It can't possibly be your luck in it. Tsunade turned red with anger at the implication, and Naruto smirked. He got the reaction he wanted. He then leaned forward and gave her a quick kiss before leaving the bar. Jiraiya was quickly taking notes with a perverted grin, and Sasuke was now staring at Tsunade's chest. Shizune looked embarrassed to be there. Once seriousness came back, Jiraiya looked at Tsunade seriously, knowing she couldn't escape. You shouldn't underestimate him. Just a few weeks ago he killed S-class missing Nin Hashigaki Kissen, and about a few months ago he killed Momoichi's abuser. With that, Jiraiya left, and Sasuke left to thinking Tsunade. 3 hours later, Naruto sat in a cross-legged position in the center of a large field when a figure stepped out from the surrounding trees. This figure had white hair that went down to his shoulders, and 2 red dots on his forehead. Naruto opened his eyes and asked, how may I help you? My name is Kagaya Kimimaro, loyal servant to Orochimaru. I have come to avenge his death, said the figure. Naruto stands, studying his would-be opponent. He notices the man, as he is slightly sluggish, and a trickle of sweat on his brow. You're ill, stated Naruto. Kimimaro tried to not look surprised. Don't be so surprised, your movements are sluggish, and you're sweating by making just the slightest movement, said Naruto. Kimimaro stared at him and said, I must kill you to avenge Orochimaru-sama. Naruto simply looked bored and asked, why are you loyal to him? Because, even though there is no cure for my disease, he took me in. He took care of me, and helped me achieve my full potential, replied the bone user. Intrigued, Naruto asked, what is this disease you have? Kimimaro saw no fault in telling him, tuberculosis. Naruto looked surprised, which was rare, and said, you do know that there is a cure, right? Kimimaro looked interested, and slightly in disbelief, there's. Naruto saw this as an opportunity. Yes, as a matter of fact, the person who knows the cure is fast approaching. As if on cue, Tsunade came bursting onto the scene, looking pissed off. Naruto looked at his watch, 3 hours, and 5 minutes, not bad. He mentally gave himself a pat on the back. You brat, I will make you pay for embarrassing me like that, said Tsunade in a fury. Jiraiya, Sasuke, and Shizune came bursting onto the scene, merely to watch the inevitable fight. They weren't dumb enough to try and stop it. Naruto might kill them with his puppets, and make them puppets, and Tsunade would do far worse. Naruto simply looked at her, and said, you know what, let's make a bet. That got Tsunade's attention. What kind of bet? Naruto tried not to smile. You and I will fight, so one of us yields his code. The stakes are this, if you win, I will give you every cent that I am worth. And if I win, you must cure my white-haired friend's disease, free of charge. Kimimaro looked at Naruto sharply, with a small hint of hope. Sasuke didn't seem to care. Tsunade had dollar signs in her eyes. Shizune was checking out Kimimaro, and Jiraiya was thinking. So, that's the Kagaya that used to serve Orochimaru. I get it, if Naruto has him cured, then the Kagaya will no doubt follow him. Very clever Uzumaki. But can you still beat Tsunade? How much are you worth? Asked Tsunade. 3.5 billion Ryu, answered Naruto. Tsunade looked skeptical, and then Sasuke said, he killed Gato, owner of Gato Industries, and confiscated his money. We all made quite a bit of profit that day. Tsunade looked stunned, then her face took on a dreamy look, as she imagined herself swimming naked in a field filled with Ryu, and Sake River running through her new estate. She quickly shook her head, and said, you got a deal, brat. I'll show you what it means to fight a real Sannin. Before Naruto could blink, he felt the fist of Tsunade hit him in the side of his head, but instead of him flying back, as expected, he exploded. Tsunade jumped back, barely avoiding the explosion, as she scanned the area. Not far from the area, Naruto watched, as he tried to figure out the best method to beat her. She specializes in close-range combat, so fighting from a distance will give me the advantage. However, I have no idea on how much chakra she has, so I could be here all day, and I'd rather not be, thought Naruto. He quickly summoned Haku, Kisame, and Zabuza, and had Kisame do some quick hand seals, having him perform the Sujin Haki. Tsunade looked on in surprise when a large water wave suddenly came barreling towards her. Thinking quickly, she punched the ground, creating a massive crater, and the water suddenly filled it up. The crater was about 50 meters in diameter. Before Tsunade could act, a large rope made of water grabbed her and dragged her to the water, forcing her under. She saw a shark-like man controlling the rope, so she channeled some chakra and pushed it out, breaking the rope, and swam to the surface as fast as possible. She watched in surprise when the surface of the water started to freeze. Acting quickly, she punched the ice and broke through, jumping up and out, and landed on the land. Before she could think, a large sword came flying through the air directly at her. She ducked and went to attack Zabuza. Zabuza made a hasty retreat when a sharp whistling sound caught her attention. She turned and saw thousands of ice needles heading right for her. Deciding not to take any chances, she punched the ground once more. This time a large slab of earth came up to block the needles. She quickly jumped back, weighing her options. This kid is good, but there has to be something I can do. If I keep this up, he'll wear me out, and I'll be vulnerable to attack. As she was thinking, Haku launched another attack using ice needles. Tsunade saw the attack and dodged to the left. She heard a sound and saw Kisame coming at her, carrying both Samehada and Kubikiri in each hand. He threw the Kubikiri, and she ducked, missing the fact that it landed in Zabuza's hand. Kisame brought his sword down, and Tsunade caught it with her arm. She was about to smirk in triumph when she felt something odd. His sword is draining my chakra, how? Before she could move, Kisame pulled his sword back, shaving off some skin from her right arm. She winced at the pain, and before she could heal herself, she felt a prick on her neck. She reached up and pulled out a small needle. Tsunade felt dizzy as she fell to the ground. Suddenly Naruto appeared and said, "That needle was coated in a poison that will stop your heart in 5 minutes. I suggest you surrender." Tsunade was not willing to give up so easily, but when she felt a blade at her throat from Zabuza, she had no choice. "I surrender," she said with bitterness. Accepting the surrender, Naruto handed her a bottle. "This contains the antidote, you may drink it." She nodded and took the antidote and immediately felt better. She then raised her left hand and started to her right arm. As she was doing that, Sasuke, Shizune, and Jiraiya appeared, and Shizune asked, "How did you beat Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade looked on in interest as she healed herself. Naruto, deciding that he could gloat this one time, told his plan. It was quite a feat. "First I started off by having an explosive clone talk to Kimimaro while the real me hid in the trees, because I knew that Tsunade would no doubt show up for revenge. So when she attacked me, it was in fact an explosive clone. I then analyzed what I knew about her strengths and weaknesses. Tsunade specializes in close combat fighting and medicine. So I knew that if engaged with a close-range puppet, it would be destroyed in a single hit. So till I could come up with a plan, I decided to distract her with long-range water, since they have the biggest area of effect. It was then that a sudden idea came to me. Using Jiraiya's peeping no, I made myself invisible, and then herded Tsunade using ice needles from one of my puppets. When she was in range, and too distracted to notice me, I pricked her with my poison needle. Everyone looked at him in surprise, and then Tsunade turned to Jiraiya, peeping no. Jiraiya sweated nervously, and then he pointed to Kimimaro to defuse the situation. "Don't you need to heal him?" Tsunade grumbles as she gets up and heads over to a confused Kimimaro. Her hands glowed green as she scanned him, then her eyes shot open. "Well, he has a severe case of tuberculosis. It's almost in its final stages, but it can be cured," she said. Kimimaro had a small look of hope on his face, and then Tsunade continued. "He will need several operations and a transplant. We will need to cut out the affected lungs and replace them. However, if we could get all new lungs that are unaffected, that would be better. But it would be quite a problem to get the lungs," she finished. Kimimaro had an almost downtrodden look, and then Naruto spoke. "I may be able to secure the lungs. As a human puppet maker, I take out all the organs and keep them for examination. I have several pairs that you can examine," he said, as if he spoke about organs every day. Tsunade nodded while the others looked green. "I will need to examine them when we return to the village." Jiraiya looked excited. "So, you'll become Hokage?" Tsunade nodded her head reluctantly. "Yes, we'll leave in the morning, but first I want to sleep." 2 weeks later. When the group returned to the village 4 days ago, they all went their separate way. Sasuke went to rest, considering Naruto has been training him into the ground. Jiraiya went to go peep, in secret of course. Naruto went to give the lungs to Tsunade, who went to hospital. He of course left the cage ones at home. After that, Naruto went to spend time with Gaara, who had a secret to tell Naruto. Naruto's house. The Palace of Death. Naruto sat on his recliner, enjoying the quiet that his home was, for it has been a stressful couple months. Gaara walks in, and sits next to Naruto. Naruto looks up at her, and replies with a yes. "I have something important to tell you," she said. That got Naruto's attention. She never talked about anything unless she was asked or was attacked. But considering that none of his guard puppets were activated when he was gone, he was curious as to what she had to say. Remember when we first met? When you saved me from the horror of my family's death? I remember when I asked you to make me forget, and I remember when you placed the seal on me. I also remember when the seal began to fail. Naruto looked at her in surprise. The seal is failing. But how? That's one of the most powerful seals created. She smiled as she answered his questions. That seal was meant to make a person a complete slave, yet you treated me as if I were human. You would ask me questions no slave should answer, you would ask my opinion, and you treated me as if you loved me. That is not the purpose of a slave, and because your actions contradicted what the seal represented, the seal overloaded, and it dissolved into my mind. The seal is gone. Naruto looked on in shock, and then he asked, do you remember everything? She gave a sultry smile. Oh, I remember everything, including every dirty act. But between you and me, I did most of those out of my own free will. I love you, Naruto. You have shown me more in life than I could ever believe. Naruto looked at her in shock, and it was rare anyone could shock Uzumaki Naruto. He quickly drew a calm face, and said, so, you will stay with me then? She replied with a smile, I love you, Naruto, and I'm determined that someday you'll see that. Council Chambers. The new Konoha Council, made of new members who were not corrupt, was in session. The new council consisted of Hyuga Hiyashi, Inizuka Tsume, Aburame Shibi, Yamanaka Itachi, Akimichi Chauza, Nara Shikako to represent the shinobi clans, and to represent the civilians, Ichiraku Tuchi. They were currently in a meeting of great importance. Now that Orochimaru is dead, the matter of appointing a third Sannin has come up, said Hiyashi. Do we really need a third Sannin? I mean, we can still be strong with two, asked Tsume. When we had 3 Sannin, our village was considered to be strong. When Orochimaru defected, it was a massive blow, both militarily and morally. By having a third Sannin, the leaf is in essence showing that we can produce more ninja just as strong as the Sannin with each generation, said Hiyashi. But who are we to appoint as the new Sannin? Asked Itachi. How about the Haddock? He is one of the strongest in the village, asked Chauza. Absolutely not. It's bad enough we have a super pervert, we don't need another one. Besides, he's not even the strongest anymore, protested Tsume. Then who is the strongest? Asked Chauza. Well, isn't it obvious? It's Naruto, said Tucci. Naruto? You mean that kid who uses human bodies as puppets? Said Tsume in surprise. Logically, he is the right choice. He already has the loyalty of most, if not all, the Anbu Corps, for when he defended the Hokage and killed Orochimaru. He defeated Hoshigaki Kisame, an S-class missing nin, as well as numerous other high-level ninjas. He is going on a journey to save the souls of our Hokages from the Shinigami, and he even defeated our current Hokage Tsunade. He even brought the last remaining Kagaya to Konoha as an ally. Not to mention he is training the last Uchiha to defeat his older brother and is coming along nicely, said Shibi. That is all true, but he is also a man who values his privacy. If we are to make him a Sannin, it would have to be in private, away from prying eyes, said Shikako. All those agreed with making Naruto a Sannin? Asked Hiyashi. All hands raised. Then we will present our proposal to the Hokage for approval. Hokage's office, 3 hours later. Tsunade sat at her, rubbing her temples. The council was adamant about making Naruto a Sannin, and they were right on one account. They needed a strong shinobi not hindered by normal rules. At first she refused, simply because she hated to reward someone who beat her in a fight. Pure ego. But they made her come around. If you make him a Sannin, we'll buy you a week's supply of sake. It was more of a bribe. So she agreed, and sent a message to Naruto, via nervous Shunin. Naruto's home. There was a knock on Naruto's door, which annoyed him because he was watching TV with Car. He opened the door, and had the man greeted by a puppet root. I have a message for Naruto-san, said to Chunin nervously. He handed the puppet a scroll, then ran like hell. Once the root handed Naruto the scroll, he opened it to find an order to come to the Hokage's office in an hour. 1 hour, and 30 minutes later. Naruto walked into the office 30 minutes late to find the Hokage and the council with ticking eyebrows. You're late, brat, said Tsunade. I come when I feel like it, not when you order an old hag. Maybe you learned something from this, he said. Tsume had to cover her mouth to keep from laughing. Tsunade's eyebrow ticked some more, and before she would make a mistake that would kill them all, Hayashi decided to speak. We, as in the council and Hokage, would like to make you an offer. We would like to make the newest Sannin of Konoha. Of course this would be a private thing, no one outside of us would know, not even the village. Not at least until you're older, and change your mind. Naruto thought about it. It would indeed be advantageous, but he wasn't going to make it this simple. I want a higher paycheck, I want to be able to do whatever I wish, no exceptions, and if by some chance I was killed, I want all those under my protection to be under this village's protection. Some of the council members looked shocked, others looked amused. Tsunade looked like she could use a drink. Fine, deal, you're the puppet Sannin, now go, said Tsunade. Naruto smiled, then left in a poof of smoke. I think that was a cage bunchin, said Shibi. Tsunade was muttering about lazy lay puppet masters who don't even show up at their own meetings. It was another month later that Kimimaro was released from the hospital with a clean bill of health. Naruto packed up everything in his apartment and with help from Jiraiya, packed up his apartment building itself. Needless to say, it was quite a shock to the village when an entire building disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto, Yujiro, Gaara, Kimimaro, and Jiraiya were standing at the gate about to leave when Sasuke showed up. He looked at Naruto and said, "Thank you. You helped me hurt Itachi, I owe you." Naruto simply responded with, "Don't forget our deal. And take this scroll. It's about time you use some in your fighting style. I expect you to master everything on this in 3 years' time." Then, as a parting gift, Naruto increased Sasuke's weight, smashing him into the ground. As Naruto was walking down the road with his allies, he asked a question. "Why is it that you are accompanying me, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya shrugged. "You intrigued me, I figured I'd join you, and maybe we can teach each other a few things." Naruto nodded and said, "Fine, but you are in no way to interfere with my activities, no matter how questionable, and you are not to reveal my secrets to anyone, understood?" Jiraiya nodded, knowing that without question that if he betrayed Naruto, he would pay dearly. 1 month later, Kumagakure. The god Hokage, Akira Daichi, sat in his large hot tub, surrounded by many fearful, naked women. He smiled when he looked at them. They were fine acquisitions he had acquired. The sex slave trade was quite profitable, even if he had to use his own kunoichi. He picked up his glass of wine, twirled it a little before taking a sip. It was a moment later that his eyes widened, and he dropped his glass. He looked on in shock, as 2 figures walked out from the shadows. The first one he didn't recognize, and he was a somewhat short boy, with spiky yellow hair, and blue eyes with 3 whisker marks on each cheek. The other he recognized, as his former assassin, and toy, Yujiro. "I wouldn't bother. You'll find that you are unable to talk. I spec your drink with a paralysis poison mixed with another poison that is slowly traveling to your heart. You shall die in a few moments. You see, I know what you have done. Stealing young women, killing their families, and using them for your own perverse sexual enjoyment before selling them off to other sick people like yourself. Yujiro here was a loyal member of your village, yet you forced her to do many disturbing things. This I cannot forgive. But before you die, I guess you should know who I am, and what I am going to do with you. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Yes, I see you recognize the name. Anyways, I am a puppeteer, and I intend to use your corpse as a puppet. And I'm going to free all your slaves. By now, you should be dead." And true to his word, the Hokage died in his tub. Naruto walked up and sealed his body, then he turned to all the slaves, all the couple dozen of them. "I can offer you freedom. Join me. I have already freed the ones that were sold." The girls all nodded, and they followed Naruto out. Unknown cave. Itachi stood in the presence of all the other Akatsuki members. They all noticed that Kisame was missing, then the leader spoke. "Itachi, where's Kisame, and why is the container not in my presence?" Itachi looked into the Rinnegan eyes, and replied, "The information that was provided to us was wrong. He is much stronger than anticipated. He easily killed Kisame, and I was forced to flee, as Jiraiya interfered. There is also something else. He is a puppet user, a human puppet user." All that information got the attention of the members, but it was the puppetry that got the attention of Sasori. Pain interrupted their thoughts. "We will wait 3 years before making our move. We still have to find the location of all the other demons, for they must be sealed in order. Any questions?" "What about Kisame's ring?" "Yeah. We can still do the extraction even if we are missing 1 ring. Nothing else?" "Good. Dismissed." And with that, all the dark shadows disappeared. Kumagakure, several days later. Naruto sat in his rented hotel room with Gaara, both under disguise, while Jiraiya went peeping. Both he and Gaara were in disguise. Well, he at least, she looked the same. He used a henge to look like a 20-years-old man with a goatee who went by the name of Zod. He and Gaara were pretending to be married, and Gaara seemed excited at the prospect, while the disguised Yujiro pretended to be the sexual third wheel. Over the course of several days, Kumo had undergone a great change. First, when some blood was found in the Hokage's room, the village did a half-assed search for him before declaring him dead. Then the event that confused Naruto took place. There was a festival celebrating his death, and people were even burning effigies of him. Then Naruto figured out why some of the former slave girls were reunited with their families, even though most didn't have family left. Naruto had them sent away for a temporary home. After the festival, it was time to elect a new Hokage, which was what Naruto wanted. There were 3 candidates for the position, each one very powerful, but not powerful enough to outwit Naruto. He put sleeping powder in each of their foods, and placed the slave seal on them, but left it deactivated, so that he can use them for information later on if need be. Naruto gave himself a mental pat on the back for his success, and cunning. After his success, Naruto spent time meditating to speak with Ep, who had a very interesting idea. He taught Naruto new seals, that when used, would carve out a tunnel on the surface. Kyuubi and Naruto planned to use it as a means to build their new base. Soon, it was time to leave. Naruto, Gaara, and Jiraiya left Kumo and headed north, past the borders of Lighting Country and into unknown territory. The reason this was considered unknown territory was because nobody had bothered to explore the territory beyond the elemental nations, because it didn't concern them. Naruto saw that as a plus. Unknown territory. Naruto and the group arrived at a massive mountain, which they had said would be perfect. After setting up camp, Naruto pulled out a blueprint to show everyone. After doing some very extensive thinking, I and the fox have agreed to this current design. We will make the base of the mountain the first floor, and then we will make multiple floors underneath the mountain, providing us the protection of the mountain, as well as giving us an almost limitless amount of space. We plan to have it be 25 floors, 24 of them obviously underground. Everyone looked impressed at the display, then Jiraiya asked, "How do you plan to do that?" Naruto simply showed him some of the seals used and said, "This plug cage bunchen." Jiraiya nodded, and Naruto created 1,000 clones to begin work while he and the group went to sleep in their tents. 2 weeks later, Naruto and company sat inside his apartment building, which they unsealed and placed it on a plateau for temporary housing. Naruto was going over the plans with Jiraiya, so he could keep watch over the operation, when Naruto went to the nearest port town, which was 2 days away, to send out the order he would require to complete the housing. He would be taking Gaara with him, while Yujiro would stay behind to be trained by Jiraiya. After going over the plans, Naruto and Gaara left and headed south. Since it was a 2-day trip, Naruto decided to teach Gaara the basics of sealing and the do's and don'ts. 4 days later, Naruto and Gaara had just walked off a ship after striking a deal with the captain, who owned a shipping company. Naruto would pay the man double his asking fee plus expenses to buy and deliver the best quality steel he could get his hands on. He would then store it in a warehouse, which was seal protected by Naruto. It was all genius really, since it was cheaper this way than by ordering from a normal store. Gaara patted Naruto on the back for his great awe-inspiring genius. "Naruto?" asked a voice. Naruto turned around to see his old team of Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura. "Yo," he replied. "Hey Naruto, what are you doing here?" asked Kakashi. "Just finished procuring some business, yourself," said Naruto, actually sounding interested, or he pretended to be. "We're here on a mission, and since you're here, would you like to join us?" asked Kakashi. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Kakashi almost chuckled. He knew how to get Naruto's attention. "We'll pay you, and there's the possibility that you may get to see some new ninja to use as puppets." Naruto thought it over. "Okay, I'll have to send a messenger bird, and then we can go. I need more time to train Gaara here anyway, and I need to see if Sasuke has been keeping up on his training like I specified." Sasuke gulped at the evil glint in Naruto's eye. Kakashi ignored their interaction, knowing it will do Sasuke good to get better training. "Our mission is to escort the cast and crew of the movie to Snow Country, but our main goal is to protect the actress, Yuki," said Kakashi. Naruto nodded and proceeded to follow his reunited team to their boat to head to Snow Country, Gaara not far behind. Naruto leaned against the railing on the ship he and his team were on. They were on their way up north to film the movie, and so far on this mission he was not pleased. He had met Yuki, and so far he was unimpressed. She was mean and derogatory, even going so far to insult Gaara in his presence. The killing intent unleashed had Kakashi picking Yuki up and running to drop her off on the other end of the ship before Naruto did something he would regret. Gaara, of course, had taken it in stride, paying no mind, and spent her time stargazing. Naruto had listened to Sasuke, as he had recounted their time with her before Naruto joined the mission. He had heard about how Yuki would always try to escape, and was often successful. With that thought in his head, Naruto went below deck. He had no intention of having the girl try to escape on his watch. He had a reputation to protect after all. When he reached her room, he dropped a sleeping bomb in her quarters to make sure she was sleeping. Then he walked in. He found her sleeping on her stomach. He looked over and pulled down her pants and underwear, revealing her bare butt. He pulled out his brush and drew a very small seal on her left butt cheek before he left. He left her pants down and left her a note detailing how she was coming on to him and how he refused because he likes to take things slow. Naruto smiled, just a little payback. After that he walked out and met Kakashi in the hallway, who looked at him with curiosity. "I placed a tracking seal on her so she wouldn't try to escape," Naruto said. Kakashi nodded and left it at that. Naruto made his way up to the deck to find Gaara sleeping against the railings. He picked her up and walked back to his quarters, then tucking her into bed. He then climbed in and fell into a dreamless sleep. Next morning came a scream. Yuki came running out of her room screaming while waving a note in the air. On the top deck, Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, Sakura, and Gaara were having breakfast in the sun, while the crew set up the movie set. When Yuki came running out, she spotted Naruto and marched over. "You. What did you do?" she demanded. Naruto played innocent and said, "Who am I? I did nothing." She fumed before stating loud enough for everyone on the deck to hear, "Why did I wake up with my pants down? You were coming on to me, if I remember correctly." You were so hot for me that you pulled down your own pants wanting to get straight to the action, said Naruto. Kakashi and Sasuke were giggling while Sakura and Gaara were chuckling. Yuki looked shocked. What? I would never do that. Well, you did. But sorry I didn't take the offer, we just met after all. If you want me to sleep with you, you're going to have to earn it, said Naruto. At that point Kakashi and Sasuke burst out laughing. Yuki spluttered and was about to walk off when the director walked over. That's perfect. Hey kid, how would you like to be in the movie? You can be Princess Yun's love interest, asked director Makino. Naruto looked at the man. No. Yuki seemed relieved when he said that. Come on, you'd be perfect, I mean look at you. Sun-kissed hair, beautiful blue eyes, those whisker marks add an air of mystery, and you're the perfect prince, Makino said. Upon seeing Naruto about to say no, he went with a different tactic. Hey, what do you specialize in anyway? I know all ninja have a specialty, what's yours? Asked Makino. Puppetry, replied Naruto. Can I have a demonstration? He asked. Naruto sighed, he knew he wasn't going to get out of this, so he nodded, and brought out Sephiroth, and kissed him. Makino looked them over. Wow, interesting piece of work, what can they do? Naruto thought for a second. I'll give you a demonstration. Sasuke, come here, you've been getting lazy, time to up your training. Sasuke looked at him wide-eyed while sweating bullets. However, he knew he couldn't get out of it so he obeyed. I shall control my puppets while they fight Sasuke here, said Naruto. Then before anyone could object, Kisame swung his blade at Sasuke, who ducked and backed up quickly wanting to have some space. Sephiroth ran at Sasuke swinging, while Sasuke brought out two kunai to block the sword. When they made contact, the force of the blow sent Sasuke careening over the edge of the ship and into the water, where Kisame was waiting. Sasuke, knowing what Kisame would do, had jumped up out of the water and landed on its surface, just as 5 sharks came at him. He jumped into the air and unleashed 5 fireballs, each one hitting a shark, cancelling each other out, and making steam. Sasuke landed on top of the water and ran at Sephiroth as he came at Sasuke. Sasuke then slid underneath the puppets, using chakra over his entire body to elicit a sliding motion on water. As he passed him, he turned around to slam a kunai with an explosive note into Sephiroth's back, only to be blocked by Kisame's sword. Sasuke jumped back, as Sephiroth backed off. Knowing something was up, Sasuke charged at Chidori, and ran at Sephiroth, hoping to take him out before what he planned could come to fruition. Upon hearing a roar, Sasuke turned to see Kisame unleashing a water dragon at him. Dispelling his Chidori, Sasuke jumped out of the way, and tried to make his way back to the ship. He succeeded, and jumped over the railing to land on the deck, only to stop when he felt a blade at his neck. He looked around, and saw it was Naruto who held the blade. You've done well Sasuke, much better than anticipated. You lasted longer than most opponents, you should be proud, said Naruto, who withdrew the blade, and sealed up his puppets. Cut. Naruto, and everyone looked at Makino, who had the film crew catch the entire fight. That was brilliant. A most excellent fight, I look forward to using it in the movie, said the director. Naruto's eye twitched at being outsmarted by the man. He was obviously much smarter than anticipated, and Naruto would need to keep an eye on him. Naruto walked off, while Yuki watched him go. Who is he? She asked. It was 4 days later that they all arrived at the Snow County port. The previous days on the ship, not much happened, except the crew, and the director watched Yuki's and Naruto's interaction very carefully. Gaara was also getting a tad bit jealous, so Naruto spent as much time as possible in his cabin, with her, mostly teaching her advanced puppetry, and a little bit of making out, for her benefit. They had arrived at an iceberg 2 days ago, and had a brief fight against some snow ninja. Unfortunately none of them were killed. Naruto would love to study them. When they arrived at the port, they got everything loaded up in a truck caravan, and went on the road, filming, as they went. That's where we arrive now, watching, as the trucks stop, and the director steps out. This is our next shot, it's perfect. As everyone gets their equipment ready, a man comes running for the director, sir. Yuki ran away again. Naruto, upon hearing this, pulls out a compass, and puts chakra into it. It points north. This was a clever device made by Naruto. The compass is attuned to a specific person, and when they have the tracking seal on, the compass will lead Naruto right to them. Naruto chuckled, as remembered Yuki's ass. Yes, he remembered it well. In fact, he dreamt that Gaara was spanking it while Naruto watched. Sasuke looked at Naruto weirdly when he started to giggle perversely, as he headed north. When Naruto arrived at a cave, he walked in cautiously, not liking how it could be an ambush site. He found her pretty far in. She was on the ground clutching her ankle. What happened? He asked, startling her. She looked at him grimly. Nothing. Naruto nodded, and got down on one knee, a green chakra covering his hand, as he placed it on her ankle. She instantly felt better when she felt the warmth on her. Tell me, why is it you're so mean? He asked out of nowhere. She looked down at the ground. You wouldn't understand my pain. Try me. He dared. She sighed. When I was a child, my father ruled this land. He was the king, and I was the princess. We led a good life. He loved to spend time with family, and me, taking us all over the country, and he helped the poor. then one day, my uncle Dotu, with 3 snow ninja, rebelled. He attacked the palace in a surprise attack, killing my father in cold blood. It was Kakashi-san who rescued me before I could be killed. My mother's fate was unknown, but I suspect she's dead too. Naruto nodded. 15 years ago my village was attacked by the Demon King. My father was the Hokage, the leader of the village, and thus led the attack to defend our home. Hundreds of ninjas were killed, families destroyed, and torn apart. Finally, my father had an idea. He summoned the Shinigami himself to defeat the demon. The Shinigami pulled out the soul of the demon and sealed it into the Hokage's only son, me. As payment, my father's soul was sent to the Shinigami's stomach, destined to suffer for eternity. As for me, my father's last wish was for me to be seen as a hero. Instead, the village saw me as the demon himself, and my life has been hell. My childhood was spent being beaten nearly to death every day. I was forced to rummage in trash cans for food, and my adoptive grandfather was unable to help me because he was banned by the village council. Luckily, my grandfather didn't listen, and because of him, I spent some time in Suna, where I learned from the greatest puppet master in the world, Akasuna no Sasori. I learned to defend myself, and I made my village pay. They learned to fear me. My name isn't even spoken without an underlying tone of fear. As for my grandfather, well, he was also a Hokage, and a few months ago our village was invaded again, and he did the same sacrifice as my father. I have no family, so I know how you feel. Yuki looked at Naruto with tears, the first tears she had shed for a long time. She gave him a hug, which caught him by complete surprise. Your life was worse than mine, I'm so sorry. Naruto was hesitant to hug her back, but when his arms touched her back, he felt warmth, and not the good kind. He looked down to see the snow melting to reveal railroad tracks. He looked behind Yuki, and saw a light. Oh shit, he said. He picked her up, and ran, as fast as he could, in the opposite direction. He heard the sound of a train behind him, and judging from Yuki's screams, it was close. He pumped chakra to his legs to increase his speed. He saw the light of the entrance ahead, and pumped even more chakra for the added boost. Right, as he reached the entrance, he jumped to the side, just in time, as the train came by. The train stopped, and Dotu and 3 ninjas stepped out on top. He gave a speech about revenge, but Naruto turned it down, as he tried to come up with a plan for dealing with his enemies. Just then logs, and a bunch of snow fell down the hillside, and collided with the train. When everyone looked up they saw an army of samurai standing on the hillside. Everyone. Princess Yuki is watching. Victory will be ours, said the leader, Sandeo. Yeah? They all yelled. What's going on? Asked Yuki. The samurai pulled out their weapons, and charged down the hillside, in a sloppy manner Naruto thought. Suddenly, the sides of the train opened up, and thousands of kunai rained down on the samurai. Yuki watched with horror, as the men who were loyal to her, and her father were torn apart. Arms and legs were separated from the sheer force of the weapons. Blood came gushing out in torrents, as the final body fell to the ground. Naruto, not willing to give Dotu the chance to shift focus to Yuki, pulled out 4 of his root puppets, and had each one run up, and unleashed massive fireballs. The fireballs hit the train, causing several compartments to explode, and then several more exploded from the fireballs launched by Kakashi and Sasuke, who had arrived on the scene. The train's engine detached, and sped off, too fast for anyone to catch, and with their enemies gone, at least for now, Naruto took Yuki to Sandeo, who was barely holding on to his life. Sandeo? She asked. Your Highness, I am very sorry for getting you involved in this. I, and everyone else. Because you were around, we didn't lose our hope. Ever since you were young, and now, you were always our princess. That's what I, Sandeo, believe in. Please believe in yourself, you are our hope. Your Highness, please don't cry. He said, then his head turned, and he died, life fading from his eyes. Yuki tried hard to not let the tears fall, but she couldn't hold them back, and they did. The director walked up with his camera, having caught everything on film, including the massacre, and Yuki's crying. He bowed his head out of respect, and swore this movie would be about more than the Snow Princess. It would be about the struggle of the people of this country. Naruto patted Yuki on the back, before leaving her in the hands of Sakura, who was better at dealing with this than him. He came across Gaara, who had tears herself. Naruto hugged her, then walked off. Gaara, after hugging Naruto, got a look at his eyes, and it was the look that scared her beyond anything. She loves Naruto, she truly does with all her heart, but when he gets that look, even she knows to be wary of his presence. Dotu had made an enemy in Naruto, and he will not rest till the man is dead, resting in the Shinigami's stomach. Unknown clearing, Snow Country. Everyone in the area, the camera crew, Team 7, and the hired laborers were camped out in a large circle. In the center of said circle, was a single tent. Coming from said tent, was a massive amount of anger, culling intent, and bloodlust. Kakashi looked at Naruto's tent with worry. He himself was afraid of such killing intent coming from the tent. Kakashi lifted his head up to the sky, and contemplated how this began. It had all started in the middle of the night, when Dotu's snow ninja launched a surprise attack on the camp, with the intent of capturing Yuki, which had also resulted in the capture of someone else. Gaara had tried to defend Yuki, while Naruto got out his puppets for battle, but the attack was swift. Gaara was caught up in the maelstrom, and was captured along with Yuki. Naruto had since secluded himself in his tent, emitting large amounts of bloodlust and anger, which was the current situation. Meanwhile, in Naruto's tent, Naruto himself sat in a meditative position. He was in conflict with himself, trying to resolve his mind and the changes occurring. I was caught by surprise. But how? It has never happened before, he thought. I have grown weak, complacent. I have allowed these emotions to overcome me. I'll let Gaara teach me emotion, and this is the price. I must rescue her, but how? He contemplated. Thinking of his past experiences, he suddenly thought, back when I had no emotion, I was far more effective than I am now. Emotion has made me weak, made me complacent, and that led to Gaara's capture, and the possible failure of this mission. If I am to succeed, I must revert back to the me of old. I must have no emotion, show no emotion, I must be cold, ruthless, and effective. I'm sorry Gaara, but this is how it must be. Standing up, Naruto walked out of the tent, and headed to the camp's exit when Kakashi called over, "Where are you going?" Naruto turned his eyes to Kakashi, and replied, "To get her back." Before leaving, Kakashi flinched at the look of Naruto's eyes. He hadn't seen that look, that coldness since when Naruto killed Orochimaru, and offered his soul to the death god. "Ep.2, you are so fucked," he thought. Ep.2's fortress. Gaara sat in a cell, huddled up in a corner trying to stay warm. She looked across from her cell, and saw Yuki attempting to do the same. Gaara was afraid, but she wouldn't show it. She had to be strong, for herself, for Yuki, and for Naruto. She knew he would come for her, he always would, but at the same time, Gaara also felt sadness. She felt that she was weak, unable to defend herself, and Yuki from 3 Ninja, always having to rely on Naruto to save her. I have to change that, she thought. She looked up to see a group of 3 guards approaching, all giving her, and Yuki suggestive leers, "Master Ep.2 wants to see you." They escorted the 2 women from their cells. They walked down numerous hallways, twist and turn, till they came to an apparent throne room. The girls were left there, as the guards left, and Ep.2 came into the room. He walked up to both girls, and looked them over. "So good of you to join me. Especially you sweet niece, I've been looking forward to our conversation for quite some time." He then walked away, and up some steps, and sat on an elaborate throne. "No doubt you have questions, and because I'm in a generous mood this evening, I will answer only 2, before we get to business. Think carefully my dears, for it wouldn't be to waste them," he said. "What happened to my mother?" asked Yuki. Ep.2 got an evil grin. "Oh, I spared her life after I killed your father. Your mother was a beautiful woman, so I kept her around to perform certain services for me. First, she resisted, but eventually she gave in, and just accepted the situation. She was always meant to be mine, my dear, but she went to your father instead. Once he was dealt with, I took what was rightfully mine, his throne, his wife, his bed, all mine. Unfortunately, she gave up on life, and became weak with age, so I had her disposed of. Maybe your new friend can entertain me instead." Yuki and Gaara looked horrified and sick. No one should go through such things, nor hear them, especially their own mother. "What do you want from me?" Yuki asked. "That is simple, I want the treasure. Your father would always go on about the greatest treasure in the country, but he never revealed it. I know that before you were rescued by that silver-haired Anbu, my brother gave you a key, the key to the treasure. I want it. With that treasure I can build an invincible army, and conquer the surrounding lands," he said. Yuki gave him a hard look. "I'll never give you the treasure, you'll have to kill me first." Ep.2 smiled. "Oh, you'll come around. Maybe after a few more nights in that cold dark cell, you'll reconsider. Guards, take them back." The 3 guards returned, and took the women, and led them away. A few minutes later, Gaara noticed that they weren't being led to their cells. "Where are you taking us?" she asked. She heard a chuckle, and both girls looked up to see the head guard removing his mask, to reveal a familiar whisker face. "I'm taking you both to freedom," replied Naruto. Both girls smiled, as Naruto removed the illusions in himself and his puppets, revealing 2 rude Anbu. Naruto then pulled out a small device, which Gaara recognized as a detonator. They approached a window, and Naruto flipped the button, causing explosions to rock the entire structure. Naruto then picked up Gaara, while one Ru picked up Yuki, and they jumped out the window, and ran down the sides. They then quickly jumped from the fortress, and ran, leaving behind the castle, as it finally exploded in a massive fireball. As they landed, Yuki looked at Naruto. "We had to go to another location. Ep.2 took my pendant, and planned to use it to unlock the treasure without the proper knowledge, and doing so could be disastrous. We have to stop him." Naruto's eyes turned cold once more, remembering the promise he made to himself. "I will go, and kill them, but not for you, but because their corpses will be useful to me." Yuki and Gaara looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Yuki at the coldness he displayed. She knew he was cold, but never had she seen him this cold, and Gaara because she thought she was making progress by showing him the love he deserved. Naruto looked up, and saw what appeared to be a large balloon taking off. He directed his tour puppets to pick up the ladies, then he ran full speed after the balloon. Not long after, they were joined on their journey by Team 7. "Where are we going?" asked Kakashi, as they ran. "We are following that balloon. Ep.2 is inside, and he plans to unlock a possible weapon that could allow him to conquer the surrounding lands," Naruto replied. Kakashi nodded, and they increased their speed. Airship. Ep.2 looked out the window, and saw tiny specks following him. He looked to his companions. "They have proven to be troublesome. Kill them." The ninja nodded, and one by one they jumped out of the window to do battle. The girl with wings flew overhead, and Sasuke looked to his teammates. "Go ahead, I will deal with her." He stayed behind, and watched, as his friends disappeared from sight before directing his attention to his foe, who landed behind him. "You will do well to give up, you cannot win," she said. Sasuke smirked, as he formed a seal, disabling his gravity weights before disappearing. The girl gave a look of shock before she suddenly felt a pain in her back, and before she knew what was happening, she was sent flying into a snow-covered tree. Sasuke pulled back his fist with a serious look on his face. He quickly got back into a stance he learned from Naruto, and waited. The woman came out covered in snow with a furious look on her face. "You bastard." Her wings extended, and she flew into the air, circling above. She quickly pulled out a kunai, and launched them at the Uchiha, who dodged with great ease. As he was dodging, Sasuke thought about the situation. He was superior to his opponent in speed, strength, act. But she had the advantage of fighting in the air. Thinking on how to end this fight quickly, he ducked into the snow-covered canopy of the trees, obscuring him from view from the air. He formed a single cage bunchen, and they nodded at each other. The girl in the air looked at the forest in anticipation, knowing her prey couldn't hide there forever. He was surprised when suddenly a figure burst from the canopy. She got ready the launchers, and was about to fire when the figure formed quick seals, sending a massive fireball in her direction. She cursed, as she was forced to dodge, and she felt a presence behind her. Sasuke held onto her back, as he positioned a kunai next to her neck, and he whispered into her ear, "Shame really, that you would fall for such an easy trick. I was hoping you would be a challenge, but it appears you will not give it to me. Naruto will most certainly enjoy your body for his experiments." Before she could do anything, he quickly slit her throat, killing her. He landed in the trees with her body in his hands. He quickly sealed her body before heading off to help Sakura. Sakura was paired to fight off the fat guy, who also had incredible strength, and his chakra-absorbing armor made it difficult to fight him. She couldn't use her enhanced strength she learned from Tsunade, knowing that the chakra would be useless. She briefly wondered about it. She looked at him. He was moving too fast on that board of his, fast enough that she wouldn't be able to implement a normal illusion. She quickly thought, and realized if she was able to touch his head, then she could send it directly into his brain. Thinking quickly, she dodged yet another pass, and then she quickly pulled out some ninja wire, and tied them in between the trees. She then ran over to the guy, and tried to attack, falling for her ploy. He dodged, and followed after her, as she ran screaming. As she jumped through a gap in her wiring, the man realized too late, and he became tangled up. Sakura then quickly ran over, and tried to touch his head when the wiring snapped, and he punched her across the face, sending her into a tree. "It will take more than that to beat me, little lady," he said in a deep voice. As he reached her, he grabbed her neck, and squeezed when he suddenly felt a tap on the back of head, turning around, and seeing nothing but snow. He went back to Sakura, and squeezed her neck till he heard a satisfying snap, then he dropped her body to the ground. He didn't have time to enjoy his victory, as he fell forward, a kunai in the back of his head. Sakura lay panting against the tree, and when Sasuke walked out, he looked at her, then the dead man. At his questioning gaze she explained, "Jinjutsu. I created a regular bunion for him to follow, and she led him to wiring where he got tangled. I gently touched his head, and he was placed in a. He thought he was killing me, when in reality he was simply imaging it. I took the opportunity to kill him." Sasuke smiled with approval. He held her up, and she sealed his body into a scroll, and they were off to find Kakashi. The Jounin looked down at the body of his foe, the dude with green hair. Kakashi shook his head in disappointment. The man had not improved at all. He recalled his fight, how the man would rely on that he had already used against Kakashi before, and since Kakashi copied them, he had analyzed them so he could better counter them in the future. So to do that, Kakashi used strict fire. And he knew a lot, since he was from a fire country. Also, Kakashi realized early on, was the lack of improvement. Whereas Kakashi had trained, and fought ever since his daring rescue of the princess all those years ago, he had gotten stronger, and with threats like Akatsuki out there, he had to be prepared. His opponent, however, had not improved by much over the years. He relied too heavily on the chakra suit, which, combined with fighting nothing but civilians for all this time, had dulled the man's abilities. Kakashi shook his head, and sealed the body, wondering what he could get from Naruto out of this. He heard a rustle, and saw his team emerge from the snowy shrubbery. Seeing them alive, he gave them a nice smile. "Good to see you're all alright." They simply nodded before they all leapt off to see Naruto. It was a few minutes later that they spotted Gaara and Yuki, both kneeling in the snow. Noticing their wide-eyed look, they all looked ahead and watched Naruto as he calmly unsealed a new puppet. "Ep.2, I would like you to meet my newest addition to my collection, for it will be the last thing you see before you die," said Naruto coldly. When the smoke dissipated, Team 7 eyes widened as they recognized a man wearing the standard jounin attire, along with a cape that hung from his soldiers, the words lightning shadow inscribed on the back. Was it him? He was the one to kill the Hokage? Asked Kakashi. Yes, Naruto heard of the man's crimes, and so he decided to kill him and add him to his collection. His soul currently rests in the stomach of a Shinigami, answered Gaara. Team 7 looked on in shock as Naruto casually used a cage-level puppet against an inferior foe. Ep.2 himself wasn't doing so good, for he recognized the man before him. They had dealings in the past, and he knew how powerful the man was, so the fact that he was killed and turned into a puppet by a mere child was a terrifying thought. However, he had his goals, and was not about to let them end without a fight. She quickly formed hand seals, and sent 2 black ice dragons racing towards Naruto. Naruto flexed his fingers, and the Hokage did some hand seals, and suddenly the ice dragons hit. "Naruto, is he alright?" asked Yuki. "It will take more than that to kill Naruto, and you should know this battle is already over, with Naruto the victor. Ep.2 just doesn't know it yet," answered Sasuke. Sure enough, when the steam dissipated, it revealed a small dome of yellow electricity covering Naruto and the Hokage. Ep.2 took a step back in fear. The Hokage then ran forward performing seals. He sent several balls of lightning at Ep.2, who jumped to the side to avoid. What he didn't avoid was the kick from the cage, sending him back several meters. He tried to get up, but screamed as he fell back down, lightning coursing through his veins. Naruto walked forward as Ep.2 lay there. "The crimes you have committed are unforgivable, so, as punishment, you will die a slow, painful death," he said. The Hokage then lifted his hands, and blue lightning came rushing out, striking the prone man. Ep.2 screamed as the lightning slowly boiled away his blood and burned his skin. His throat raw, he was unable to scream anymore, and just moved around in pain as his flesh was burned off, followed by his muscles, and his blood evaporated in a red steam. When the Hokage was finished, Naruto sealed him back up and looked at the skeletal remains, blackened from the power they were dead with. Naruto did a slight kaiten and burned the bones to ash, sweeping them into the wind. Team 7 along with the 2 women came down the hill to Naruto. Yuki walked up to Naruto, and he held out his hand. "This belongs to you." He handed her the crystal he had taken from Ep.2's body before killing him, and she grabbed it and held it tightly. She looked at their surroundings and saw a pedestal. She walked over to it and saw an engraving with the same shape as the crystal. Memories flooding her, she placed the crystal in the engraving. Everyone watched in awe as the massive spires surrounding them lit up, melting the ice off of them and revealing their true purpose, large mirrors. Slowly, the ice all over Snow Country melted, and for the first time in a long time, grass and flowers grew, the sky turned blue, and the air warmed as the device did its work. Tears in her eyes, Yuki looked at Naruto and smiled. She then leaned forward and gave him a light kiss, and for once, Gaara wasn't jealous, knowing that Yuki needed this. When it was done, they all heard a shout, "Cut." They looked over and saw the director and crew walking over with awestruck faces. "That was excellent. This movie will be my best work, with actual ninja fighting and a happy ending. The princess gets her man and retakes the throne. Excellent." Naruto continued his look of indifference while the team celebrated. Port Town in Fire Country. Naruto and Gaara stood in front of a ship that would take them north, where it would drop them off, and they would travel to his new base on foot. Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and Yuki were there to say goodbye. Sasuke walked forward and presented Naruto with a scroll. "This contains the body of my opponent, and I thought you would appreciate an opportunity to study it." Naruto took it and nodded. He then handed a scroll to Sasuke. "This contains some elemental manipulation that you can use in your Jujutsu. Use it well." Sakura stepped forward, gave her scroll, and received one in return about advanced. Kakashi gave his scroll, and received freeborn sealed in a scroll. Yuki walked forward. "I don't know how to thank you. Because of you I can rebuild my life and my country. You are a hero. If you need anything, just let me know." She then leaned forward to his ear, and purred, "Anything, I am more than willing to oblige." Gaara tried not to shake in rage that was uncalled for, especially for her man. Naruto nodded and kissed her cheek, hoping it would placate her and keep a potential fangirl from forming. Nodding to his team, he and Gaara walked onto the ship and prepared to leave. Unknown location in Lightning Country. As Gaara was sleeping, Naruto pulled out his scroll and went into the woods. He unsealed the body of a guard he had killed in Ep.2's fortress and prepared. Soon, Ep.2 looked around in confusion. "What? How am I alive? I was dead." "You're alive so you can ultimately meet your fate," said Naruto coldly. Soon, the Shinigami appeared and looked at Ep.2, a corrupt soul indeed. "Yes, I will take this one in exchange for the one called Transcending, as per our agreement." Ep.2 tried to scream in terror, as his soul was taken from a newly reformed body, turning it into ash, as his soul was taken to the stomach. Not long after, the Sandame appeared, and the Shinigami vanished. "I see you have done well for yourself, Naruto-kun," he said. Naruto nodded. "I have, but I am afraid there is still much to do. I wish I had more time to explain, but I'm sure the Shodai and Nidane will explain in the afterlife." Sarutobi nodded. "Naruto, don't forget to live your life for yourself, and for those you find precious. Don't run your life according to others' whims. I want you to find what so many are unable to do, happiness." He smiled, and Naruto smiled back, as he watched the Sandame disappear to heaven. Naruto then returned to his old self afterwards. He had work that needed to be done. Kitsune's den, Naruto's private apartment. Naruto sat in his study, books, and scrolls surrounding him. On each of the scrolls were different designs of seals, but different, they were known as runes. Naruto has been poring over them for over 3 years, doing his absolute best to study them and memorize them, being of great help. So far, Naruto has exceeded the demon's expectations, taking the rune study beyond anything he would have imagined. Of course, seeing as what Naruto planned on using them for, it was understandable. 3 days ago they had agreed to take Naruto to the first body of one of the legendary ninjas who created the modern world. This one was known as the Rakuto Sennin, or Sage of the Six Paths, the founder of ninjutsu. He also possessed a bloodline known as the Rinnegan, which had the ability to control up to several bodies at once. To Naruto, this was considered to be the ultimate form of puppetry, controlling them with his mind, not just chakra. So Naruto was going over everything he knew, and with Kyuubi's help, trying to find a way to allow Naruto to have the actual bloodline, and all its benefits. After all, it's one thing to transfer eyes to yourself, but to implant an entire bloodline was completely different. Things were going very slowly. But, other than Naruto going over runes and seals, he has had quite the adventure these past 3 years, especially when he killed the Mizukage and added him to his collection. Flashback. In Mizunokuni, Naruto was disguised as a peasant, wearing a ratty cloak and straw hat. Naruto had come to this miserable ninja village for a twofold purpose. His first piece of business was to head to the cemetery and war to see if there were anyone with bloodline limits that could be of use to him, as puppets, and the other was to kill the Mizukage for crimes against humanity and genocide. So far, Naruto has met with little success. Most bodies with bloodlines were burned to ashes after death, and sometimes before the person died. Naruto looked around and took in the poor state of the village. It was run down and ratty, with people looking every which way then running for the nearest alley, afraid of meeting the Mizukage or his personal guard. Naruto was disgusted, but things would be better soon enough. Now came the part that was tricky. The Kage was a nervous, paranoid man. He often had his own food tested before eating it, and he always set the bath himself, and never slept in the same place twice. But Naruto would get him, he always did. Naruto had rented a rundown hotel room for a few days, while he waited and planned. After several days, a thought came to him, as to how to achieve his goal. He thought about a time delay poison, that way after the food was tested, and it came up clean, the Mizukage would ingest it, and still die. Sadly, the person that tasted the food would die as well, but one more life could be considered causality. Later that evening, Naruto snuck into the tower by climbing through the air vent and into the basement. Using a henge, he took the appearance of a mouse and made his way up the stairs and into a hallway. As he made his way down, he saw a lone Jounin walk into a room on his right, deciding to follow, and Naruto found the lone Jounin in the restroom washing his face with what looked to be tired eyes. Naruto quickly cancelled the illusion and hit the man on the back of his head, knocking him out. He then took the man's appearance in another henge, and hid the body in a bathroom stall. In his new disguise, Naruto made his way throughout the tower, eventually finding the kitchens. As he made his way through, pretending to look for a snack, he found a slip of paper for the Mizukage's meal. Using it, he found the actual meal being prepared. Using it quick, he distracted the chef, and quickly poured the time-delayed poison inside before making his way out. 1 hour later, the Mizukage sat back in his chair having finished his meal. He licked his lips to savor the flavor of his orange chicken. Suddenly he felt his body stiffen, and his jaw muscles seize up. He tried to flare his chakra to alert his guards, but he soon felt he lacked any form of control over his chakra, as well. He started to panic, then before long he felt a hot, searing pain in his veins, as his blood felt like it was on fire, and the fire was on its way to his heart. Before long, the muscle relaxance faded, and his body fell forward onto the deck, dead. Naruto walked into the room, still in disguise, as the random Jounin. Making sure the office was clear, he checked the body before sealing it into a scroll, and then he simply walked out. Anybody that looked at him would assume he was carrying a mission scroll, and not the Kage. Several hours later, outside of Wave Country, Naruto stood in the small forest on the island, going through a series of hand seals to perform the required. Soon, a purple portal opened onto the ground, and a wooden coffin slowly rose from it, the portal closing once the coffin was safely on the ground. The lid fell forward to reveal the body of the Mizukage, who opened his eyes to see Naruto. "Who the hell are you, and how am I alive?" he demanded. "You're here, because I brought you here. I killed you, and brought you back to life for a single purpose, and that is to spend eternity in a place far worse than hell," replied Naruto, who had started on another set of seals. As he finished, the sky began to darken, and the local animals fled the scene, as if death itself was upon them. A shimmering of the air caused Naruto and the Mizukage to look up, one in anticipation, the other fear. As the form of death appeared, Naruto smiled and spoke, "I bring you one last sacrifice for the release of the last soul. I pray he is worthy enough for you." Death's face looked over the cage before him before he spoke. "His soul is dark, very dark, and so evil. Committed a lot of murders, haven't you, young Cage? You shall be a tasty treat." Death reached out his hand and grasped the soul of the screaming Cage, pulling it forward and swallowing it, while at the same time another soul came forth. "Our deal is now complete, mortal. 4 false souls for 4 good souls. Do not call me again unless you plan to offer me another soul," said Death as he slowly disappeared. Once Death disappeared, the sky returned to normal. Naruto turned his head to look at the last soul, the infamous Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, and his father. Minato took a moment to study his son. Even in his spiritual form, he could feel the power radiating from him, and at the same a form of darkness lurked about him. "So, you my father. The one who sealed the fox in me for the sake of an ungrateful village," stated Naruto. Minato lowered his head. "So, they didn't see you as the hero like I thought they would then. I should have known, but I had faith they would. But please tell me, your life hasn't been all bad, has it?" Naruto looked at as he spoke. "My life was not the most pleasant, but I will admit to finding some form of happiness and satisfaction with it." Minato nodded before looking to the sky. "My time here is short, and I must ascend now. But I want you to know that even though I may have sacrificed you for the village, that I and your mother will always love you." For the first time in a long time, Naruto smiled. "I will tell Jiji when you see him that if he pees on my women, I will summon him just to kick his ass." Minato smiled before his body dissipated and blew into the sky. Naruto looked to the sky and smiled, knowing his promise to release them now complete, he can focus on Madara. Then flashback. Naruto looked over at the runes covering the table, checking with the Kyuubi to make sure they were correct. He took them and headed off to his sealing chamber. Inside, he found the naked body of the sage, making sure to draw the runes carefully. He drew them on the body of the sage, before stripping down himself and drawing the same set of runes. He lay down next to the sage and channeled chakra and pushed into his runes and the runes on the sage to trigger the reaction. The room lit as it was flooded with a large bright light as the runes began their work. Naruto began to scream in pain as he felt part of the sage's DNA being added to his own. Naruto screamed as his flesh felt like it was burning under 1,000 white-hot knives as his eyes changed from their sapphire blue to cold gray ripples. As quickly as it began, it was over. Naruto laid there, passed out from the pain. The door opened, and Jiraiya walked in with Yujiro. He picked up Naruto and carried him out of the room to the infirmary, while Yujiro checked the sage's body before sealing it in a scroll and walking out as well. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto sat in front of the Kyuubi's cage, listening intently about the powers and abilities of the Rinnegan. The demon went on to explain the numerous abilities and how to control them. The one that Naruto was mainly interested in, however, was the ability to control multiple bodies at once. "How is it you know so much about this man's bloodline?" Naruto asked, curious. The demon responded simply with, "We met long ago, rest is not your business." They began talking again, this time about how to control the bodies. "The thing is, because you are splitting your chakra up between 6 bodies, you will not be able to use multiple techniques per body, 1 body per technique. However, you can use different variations of the techniques. For example, 1 body could have the ability to control fire, and because it can control fire, it can only use fire attacks that include every fire just as long as you have the chakra. Now you're no doubt wondering how to control the bodies. Will allow myself to explain. First, your body produces natural chakra receivers. Because they are made from your body and your chakra, they can only be used by you. I'm not quite sure how to produce them, but I'm told you just will it, and it shall happen. Back to bodies. In order to get your eyes into the bodies of the bodies, they must have a chakra system, whether it's real or artificial. Once you do so, you must actually mold your chakra into the eye sockets of the bodies. The chakra will form on its own and create the eyes. From there you use the chakra receptors, and there you go. It takes time to get used to it. I could tell stories of Rakuto that would make you laugh, but I won't." Naruto took all the information, being careful to make sure he had it memorized correctly before he left. Then mindscape. Naruto awoke in his bed, his now gray eyes looking at the ceiling, hearing a rustling. He turned his head to see Jiraiya sitting there staring at him. "So, I'm assuming it went well?" asked the Toad Sage. "It went well, as can be expected. I now have the bloodline and the knowledge to create the techniques, all which is required is that I practice and master them," responded the blonde. Jiraiya simply grunted. "Well, don't you go and try anything now. Your chakra is still recovering from the procedure, and anything now would be tantamount to suicide." Naruto sighed. I can feel my chakra still recovering. Other than that, is there anything else I should be aware of? The last of the refugees are coming in, they are all being screened, and so far no one has turned up suspicious. Kimimaro is handling security at the moment. The rest of your defensive systems have come online, so we are very well protected now, stated Jiraiya. Naruto nodded. Very well. I'll leave you in charge of things until I have recovered. Jiraiya nodded, and then he got up and left to go run the base, while Naruto went back to sleep, wishing his chakra would hurry up and reach full capacity. Wave country. The young red-haired man walked away from the local bar and headed towards the forest. It was not too long before he came across a hidden alcove in a hollowed-out tree. Dispelling the revealed a hunchback shell with a long metal tail. So, his tail has spread to here, as well, his skills with puppets. I eagerly look forward to meeting you, Uzumaki Naruto, thought Sasori as he lumbered into the night. Kimimaro sat in his meditation circle, his outward appearance nothing but calm and tranquility. On the inside, however, is a torrent of chaos. Kimimaro was practicing an exercise taught to him by Naruto and Jiraiya. He was taking his chakra and circulating it around his body to strengthen his bones, his organs, and his tissue. The purpose of this exercise was control, not the normal chakra control ninjas go through, but control of a different nature. Kimimaro was a warrior of great power, able to flex his abilities at a moment's notice, and with his past illness, he was simply content to remain where he was power-wise. However, when he learned of the threats in the world and how they targeted Naruto, he knew he needed to improve. With the help of Jiraiya and Naruto, they developed this exercise. Its purpose was twofold. First was control of the body. By not showing any sign of exertion, despite how the exercise would bring even the most disciplined man to his knees in pain, Kimimaro was adjusting. By not showing the signs, by enduring the pain, he was able to move past it, beyond it. The second purpose of the exercise was spiritual, based on the chakra itself. For centuries humans had harnessed chakra, controlled it, only allowing a minuscule amount of power out to fit their needs. But what would happen if all that power was unleashed, uncontrolled? As Naruto, Jiraiya, and himself discovered, if he could allow his chakra to become chaotic, and allow it to control his body, it would drive him to unimaginable heights of power. He would be stronger, faster, and his instincts more acute. He would be the embodiment of power. But not everyone could do this exercise, for if not done correctly, it could kill you, tearing up your insides, and leaving you a shallow husk. Or it could explode, taking with it an entire village. This was why they felt Kimimaro was perfect. They felt he alone had the ability to unleash his chakra, but keep it from harming him, revel in its power, but keep it contained so as not to destroy their home. He succeeded, and he was improving. He opens his eyes, and wipes the sweat from his brow. Exhausted, he stands, and makes his way out of the meditation room in his apartment. He walks into the kitchen to see his beautiful wife, Funaho, cooking dinner. He smiles. He often felt she was a gift from Naruto, while she thought it was Naruto who set up the blind date. Such thoughts caused Kimimaro to think back on his life, of the past 3 years since he joined Naruto. When he was first cured by the man, he felt a sense of duty, of fealty to the man. But, as their journeys continued, he began to learn Naruto treated him as something more than a servant. He treated him as a friend, even though Naruto would deny it, and say business partner. As they traveled, liberating those from oppression, as they happened upon them, he began to feel something, a deep sense of duty, not to just Naruto, but to the people they held free. When they built their new home, Naruto had placed Kimimaro in charge of the security, since he felt the man's sense of duty would be perfect, as Kimimaro would do his best to protect the home, and all those who reside there. Another gift from Naruto was the idea of clan restoration. Naruto was well aware of the toll Kiri took on its bloodline clans, as well as the wars of the past that affected all the elemental nations. So he developed an idea that if they were willing, many of the single women would be fertilized with the seed of those from the clans, and bloodlines would be reborn anew. The women were more than happy to agree, as they felt they had no purpose in life without any family, and if they had children they would have purpose, that purpose to rebuild, to guide a new generation in the lessons taught to them by Naruto. Of course, this had the side effect of many people trying to get into Naruto's pants to have his children, since he was the last of his clan. An event that drove Gaara and Yujiro up the wall, and Jiraiya glee in new material for his books. Once Naruto calmly told them, from his safe room, that he had no intention of having children with them, and was with Gaara and Yujiro, they relented. Naruto, when he took the bodies of his human puppets, preserved all the organs and fluids in special stasis jars. This of course, included the seed. The thought made Kimimaro uncomfortable, as it was just plain creepy. As a consequence, many long-dead clans were reborn. The Senju clan was separated into 2 branches, those capable of using the Milkutin, and those capable of using the Nidain water affinity. It was revealed through testing that the Milkutin was only used by males, as the Y chromosome somehow was the only one to accept the bloodline, while both males and females could use the water. Another clan reborn was Haku's clan, as well as Sai's, Kisum's, though that one took some convincing on Naruto's part to the females. Kimameru's clan was rebuilt as well. Actually it was in the process of being rebuilt. He was offered the chance to mass reproduce, and quite a few people were willing. It was no secret the women lusted after his well-built physique. However, Kimameru was not quite so interested. He wanted children, yes, but he wanted something more, something he never had before in his life. He wanted love. So, Naruto set him up with a blind date, something he was kind of forced into. Naruto had, with the help of Gaara and Yujiro, chosen Funaho to be his blind date. 1 year later Kimameru and Funaho were married. Kimameru was proud to say he had fallen for the young woman, and she was now expecting their first child. Kimameru could safely say he owes a lot to Naruto, for if not for Naruto sparring him, healing him, he would not have found what he wanted most, love. Scene break. A few hours later, Kimameru reported to the main control room of the base. It was here that the defense systems, security systems, fire alarms, environmental controls, ceiling array status, everything to do with the base, was here. As the main person in charge, Kimameru was often found here, as he watched over the base and its inhabitants. He turned on the security monitors to watch the parks. Usually he searches for anyone injured, so that he can send medical help. He was glad to see all was fine, and the children and their families were playing and having fun. He took a look at the power generator seals, and was glad to see the power levels were nominal. He turned on the outside cameras, which were equipped with the latest in technology. He scanned the surrounding landscape, using X-rays, infrared detectors, and a power level detector, which was created to find high-level shinobi. Most of the technology was commonplace in the elemental nations, provided you have enough money, for they weren't cheap. A shinobi camera that was designed by Naruto himself. The purpose was that it was built with a small sensor that detected chakra levels. It was also able to distinguish between human and animal, so it was easy to find any shinobi in the area, but, as far out as they were, any shinobi would most likely be an enemy. As he turned on the camera, he performed a sensor sweep of the general area. Things were looking good until a small alarm, loud enough for only the room, went off. Kimameru immediately hit the flashing button on the desk in front of him. The screen changed to show the figure the shinobi camera had picked up. The figure that filled the screen was hunched over, and moving at a slow pace. On his head was a straw hat, and covering his body was a black cloak with red clouds. Kimameru's eyes whitened. They had been found. He immediately hit another button. This was for the alert, and an alarm started blaring out across the entire inside of the compound. Luckily there were also sound dampeners, so the alarm could not be heard outside. Kimameru watched, as on various screens families left the parks, and headed to their apartments, which would then seal them inside, keeping them safe until the emergency had passed. Kimameru turned around, as the door slammed open to show a running Jiraiya, and Yujiro coming in, as well as Naruto, who just calmly walked in. Kimameru noticed he was wearing sunglasses, no doubt to hold the Rinnegan secret. "A port," was all Naruto said. Kimameru nodded. The sensors had indicated that a member of the Akatsuki was nearby. According to the screen it appears he is not yet aware of our exact location. It also shows that his partner is not nearby, so he appears to be alone. Judging from the hunched form, I believe this to be Akasuna no Sasori. Naruto perked up at this. He stepped forward, and looked at the screen closely. "I will go, and meet him, alone. I want you all to prepare the defenses in case I fail, or another member should attack while I am busy," Naruto ordered. They nodded, not even bothering to argue, knowing full well his decision was made, and could not be changed. As Naruto left the room to go gather his puppets, Kimameru was left thinking, wondering what would happen. Would a battle break out? And since both were puppet masters, who would succeed, and who would fail? Both were questions he was afraid to answer, as the outcome could be either Naruto or Sasori. Scene break. Naruto walked outside. He knew exactly where Sasori was, so he headed in that direction. But he did not hurry. They were puppet masters, men of the most extreme patience, and they had the time. He no doubt knew Sasori knew where he was, as well, and the one thing he expressed above all else in his notes, the very same notes that started Naruto onto the path he walks, was that puppet masters must always have patience. As he walked, Naruto wondered what would happen once he met the legendary master. Even if he was not taught by him directly, instead relying on notes and journals, Naruto still considered the man a mentor. His skills, his designs, inspired Naruto to find a place for himself, inspired his own creativity. Naruto remembered, when he was but a child, he had felt he didn't belong. With him being ostracized by his own village, he was never allowed to find where he belonged, his own niche. He simply existed, that was it. But when he fell into the secret lab in Tsunade, when he read the notes and the journals, he had found a place to belong. He realized that he didn't need to belong to a village. He realized that he could belong to a concept, to an art. That art was puppetry. The ability to create beautiful works of art that could move, that could entertain and bring joy, but could also be used to crush the ones who deemed him harmful. Naruto had learned that he didn't need to try and fit into the Leaf Village. He would exist, and those that didn't want his existence would die. It was a simple fact, it was survival. Another lesson he had taken from Sasori's notes was that eventually an artist had to personalize his work. Sasori had done this by creating the concept of human puppets. Naruto had taken this step and did it in reverse. He had created an artificial chakra system that once made and applied, allowed a puppet to perform as a human. He had created puppets that can use chakra. There was another thing about Naruto that set him apart from Sasori. Everyone knew Sasori used human puppets, which was a reason people were afraid of him, one reason among many. Naruto had kept his discovery and invention secret. No one knew except a select few, that being Jiraiya, Yujiro, Gaara, and Kimimaro. Once Naruto made this invention, he decided to implement it in his most used and his most powerful, non-human puppets. The ones he now carried with him, as he went to face the man who gave him everything. Scene break. Sasori stood on top of a nearby cliff. He knew he was close, so very close, to the person who is said to be as great as him in the art of puppetry. For years now, he has been searching for this individual, his spy network all but useless, as the boy never showed himself, or if he did, his true form, in public since leaving Konoha. The rumors flying around about Naruto were certainly interesting. Rumors such as the fact he has killed Hokages and made them human puppets. It is even said he has all 4 dead Hokages of Konoha, including the infamous Yellow Flash. Sasori was indeed interested, so interested in fact, that he personally went out and sought information, something he was normally prone to using his spies for. But, as said, his spies were all but useless in finding this person. Sasori thought of himself as an artist, and, as an artist, it was only natural to want to compare your work with that of others, and to see who was best. There. He sensed it. A small chakra signal, not too big, just big enough for him to detect, but he knew who it was. It was Naruto, the puppet user. He stopped moving, and waited. He had all the patience in the world. It was not long till on the other side of the gorge, that a figure papered, yellow hair, 3 whiskers like marks on each cheek. It was Naruto. The one people said was his equal. They stood there, staring at one another, both waiting for the first attack, or the first spoken word, but a few moments later, the confrontation would begin. The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.